Too Faced and I have worked on this limited edition, The Power of Makeup collection by me, Nikki Tutorials. And here it is, guys. Here is the box.
Today is my review of the Too Faced The Power of Makeup by Nikki Tutorials collaboration. So if you guys saw on my Instagram, you will know that I don't like this palette.
I've been sabotaged from the beginning. There's so many things I want to say, but I can't. I want to, but I can't.
I could tell you the contract that Nikki Tutorials signed for her Too Faced palette and what they did to her, you guys would fucking scream.
There was a time when Too Faced cosmetics were everywhere. You could not open a YouTube beauty video without seeing their unique packaging and their playful campaigns and their candy sweet scents practically drifting through the screen. They weren't just selling makeup, they were selling indulgence. But this is the thing. Of course, no one can indulge in anything forever. By the early 2020s, Too Faced had quietly slipped from the spotlight, swallowed by the endless tide of beauty brands fighting for attention. But what happened? How did a brand that once stood out so much just fade away? At the heart of this story are two major players, Jerrod Blandino, the larger-than-life co-founder, and Estee Lauder, the corporate giant that took control. So what exactly went wrong? What could they have done differently? And what would it take to make Too Faced a viral brand once again? This is Behind the Controversy, the Rise and Fall of Too Faced. And it starts right now.
Oh, the controversy, the drama, woo!
Hello, my friend. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're here for the first time, hi, my name is Jen. You have stumbled upon a channel called JENLUV, and on this channel, we talk mostly makeup news. I have a makeup news show every Sunday called What's Up in Makeup, but occasionally I enjoy doing these deep dives, taking you on a journey of things that have happened in the past and how they have influenced our present day cosmetic industry. And today we are diving deep into the story of Too Faced. It is full of ups and downs and drama and what the heck just happened and how did this person get dragged into this drama. And of course, we have some major players that seem to be in every single story that we talk about in Behind the Controversy. If you're curious about this series, of course, I will link the playlist to the Behind the Controversy series where we've covered many topics just like this one if you want to watch more. And with that being said, we need to start our chocolate and peach scented journey where Too Faced started, which is with Jerrod Blandino and Jeremy Johnson, the co-founders of Too Faced. It is 1995 and Jerrod Blandino is working at an Estee Lauder counter in Saks in South Coast Plaza Mall in the heart of Orange County, California. It's about a 37-mile drive from Los Angeles and about 6 miles to Huntington Beach. This is a very affluent area. Jeremy didn't work at Estee Lauder at the time, but he had worked with them in the past, and he also worked with luxury houses like Chanel and Armani. I've read a couple of stories about how Jerrod and Jeremy met, but the one that seems to be the real one, I think, is that they met at a hair salon. Not really sure how all of that went down, but I do know that the chemistry was strong and it hit them both fast because Jerrod posted up a photo of the two of them making out very early in their career. I won't post it. It is on his personal Instagram. It's very passionate. And I just feel like it's a little too private, even though he shared it. But just know that there was chemistry and they went into it hot and heavy real quick. So Jerrod and Jeremy are dating, and Jerrod is working behind this Estee Lauder counter. And this is how the story goes. Jerrod's told it a million times. He's working behind the Estee Lauder counter, and he's getting bored. He's bored of Estee Lauder cosmetics. He's bored of all the browns and the naturals and the safe and all of that. So he starts taking the testers and starts mixing things up, trying to get new textures and new things happening. So people would come into the counter, celebrities, very wealthy people, and he would try out his concoctions on these people. He even went so far as to say he would bring some of the testers home and mix shit up in his microwave. and then bring it back in little Tupperware containers and give it to his clients. That's what he said. I can't change the story. That's what he said.
And while I was behind the counter at Saks, working with celebrities, and it was the funnest group of people, I was realizing in that stage in the late 90s, everyone was taking makeup so seriously. It was like step 1, step 2, step 3, don't break any rules. It was very like serious. And I was like, why are y'all taking this so seriously? It's so much fun. It's so much fun to be a girl. You can reinvent yourself every day. You know, now boys get to do that too, but at the time they weren't. I just started destroying every tester in the department, trying to create these things that I thought Fran Drescher would come in. She was going to the Emmys. You should stand out. You should wear this. Or I got craft glitter from the store and I would chop it into a blush and I was just melting things in the microwave and bringing them back in those little like Tupperware cups, you know? I eventually got caught from security again. Why are you taking products home that people are buying and bringing it back in these little Tupperware things? Because their assistants would pick it up later, right? I'd have them buy 15 things and they'd come back and there would be like 4 containers to take home.
Now, a video I want to direct you to that is another take on the story is the one by Robert Welsh. Robert Welsh thinks that this is absolute bullshit. He does not believe that this really happened. I'm going to play a clip from Robert's video.
Here's my issues with V's story, right? 1, your manager is just like, yeah, you know, use anything from anywhere, mix it all together, even though you're trying to sell products on counter. They're like, yeah, take anything you want that you've mixed up in your kitchen and bring it in and use it. And then, you know, use it on someone's face, which is meant to lead to a sale. What are you going to do? Say, yeah, take these products home and then mix them together in your microwave. Not going to happen. Especially at that time, people just wanted, you know, their makeup and that's it. They weren't experimenting. The average consumer anyway. And also you're mixing all these products together that haven't been mixed together before. What if your customer had a reaction? It just wouldn't be allowed. In my opinion, that's my thought process. Imagine you're on a counter and someone's like, yeah, use all of these, but actually this is what I made at home in my kitchen. I mix it together in a microwave. Like you'd be like, don't touch me. Don't touch me.
After I watched Robert's video, it further solidified in my mind that any story that Jerrod tells, I need to take with a grain of salt. So speaking of that, here's the next part of the story. So Jerrod basically, he's working behind an Estee Lauder counter. He has no clout. He doesn't know anybody. He's not even a trained makeup artist. But he gets this idea from doing all this playing that he wants to start a makeup line. So he goes to the white pages. And he looks up and finds a cosmetic lab and he calls him up and he's like, hey, I work for Estee Lauder. Can I get a meeting because I want to start a cosmetic line? And they say yes. Of course, he leaves out the part where he just works at a counter in a Saks. He says he works for Estee Lauder. So he gets the meeting. This part's kind of funny. I read this in an interview with Jeremy, and he said that when they went to the office of the lab, they actually parked their Toyota Tercel down the road because they didn't want anybody to judge them for the car that they drove. And I guess that worked because it was at that meeting that Too Faced was born. This is where Jerrod continues his story, and this is consistent across many interviews. He says he's in the lab, and he tells the person that he's working with, hey, I want to create the first glitter eyeshadow. And the person in the lab's like, you can't do that. It's binding and this and this and that. And he's like, watch me. And he starts walking around in all of the stuff and starts mixing stuff together and creates a glitter eyeshadow from just dumping some cosmetic glitter into a bunch of things. And Jerrod says that is how the first glitter eyeshadow was born. For the record, Robert Welsh also thinks this story is bullshit.
That's not how labs work. You don't run around labs grabbing ingredients from shelves and throwing it in products and being like, how about this? You know, it's a controlled environment. You can't just be mixing shit with shit.
Robert actually dug and found this old clip from QVC where Jerrod is on there promoting one of the glitter shadows. It's the purple version. And it's really, really shaky. It's terrible quality. I did capture a screenshot of it and I will link it down below in case you would like to watch it. But if you look at it, I know it's terrible quality, so maybe this just isn't an accurate representation of the glitter that was happening here. But to me, this looks like a standard shimmer. And of course, standard shimmer eyeshadows already existed. But what this doesn't show is their most popular glitter eyeshadow. It was called Ooh and Ah. It was a black and a silver split pan, and that became their hero product for a while. With Jeremy running the supply chain and Jerrod running the creative piece of the company, they launched Too Faced with 10 eyeshadows, 10 lipsticks, and 8 nail polishes. I did read that Jerrod said he invested $70,000 in the launch of Too Faced. Where he got this money, he never said to my knowledge, but a lot of money, upfront investment. It proved to be an incredibly good investment. Not too terribly long after their launch, they got their big break in a Vogue feature. And in that Vogue feature, they got the attention of a bunch of celebrities. People like Julia Roberts, Drew Barrymore, Gwen Stefani, and Madonna all started wearing Too Faced cosmetics. And when they were photographed by the paparazzi or they were photographed for an event, people would ask them, they ask celebrities, what are you wearing? What makeup are you wearing? They would say they're wearing Too Faced, and that made the company blow up even more. Thanks to a video made by the channel Underskin, again, full video down below, I do have footage of the original Too Faced products. You can see the lipsticks, and we can also see the very first version of the Too Faced, very famous lip injection lip gloss. They also showed what I think are possibly the first Too Faced eyeshadow palettes called the Quickie Chronicles. There were 8 of them, and they had this whole boudoir feel to them. So you can see that they were playing off that sex sells theme very early on. This would continue throughout the life of Too Faced. I know some of you all remember this stuff and were like around and in it, so I'm not going to pretend to know about this because I was a drugstore girl back then. Like, there was no way Too Faced was on my radar. Like, I was strictly like the little Maybelline palette kind of person. So I don't know for a fact, but all I know is at People's Drug, where I shopped, we did not have eyeshadow palettes like this that also had blushes and tools and cream lip products in them. That seemed really special, at least in hindsight for me. I'm not sure if a lot of brands were doing this. I know it was done in the past, but I don't think a lot of brands were doing this at the time, and that's my point in mentioning it. But to be fair, I could be wrong there. The sex sells thing honestly doesn't bother me. I was a huge fan of the Balm forever, and they did the exact same thing. But the more I dug into the early launches from Too Faced, the more I started getting the icks a little bit. Because there's some icky things that were happening, and I think that it was due to Jerrod's initial vision for the brand and his initial thoughts about women that he shared publicly. The name Too Faced came from a nickname that Jerrod had for his clients at the Estee Lauder counter. He said that a lot of the women that would come in were really stuck up and they were too about their faces. And that's where Too Faced was born. He wanted to create a makeup line for these women that were obsessed with their own faces. He says that he really enjoyed working with these women, even though other people didn't like working with them. But that was the target market, were these women. So it was all based on what he thought women wanted, and that continued the next 10 years of him coming out with products that were his impression of what women wanted. And to be fair, it seemed to be working. Too Faced seemed to be growing, but the first product that really gave me the serious icks was a collaboration that they did with the drink company Fuse. It was a diet lip gloss. They actually said that it was a guilt-free lip gloss. How is that, might you ask? I was wondering the same thing. Well, apparently it was based on one of the Fuse drinks called Resolution Slenderize, and the lip gloss was called Slenderize. It was formulated with super Citramax and L-carnitine to curb appetite. They literally marketed this lip gloss as a way to curb appetite and lose weight. I found a printed article at ABC News where they interviewed Jerrod, and he said it works because the skin on the lips is very thin and you will ingest some of it. And that the glosses play with nutritional science in a girly kind of way. I'm not going to rant about how problematic this is because I have a feeling we are on the exact same page right now. Just thankfully, ABC did interview someone with a counterpoint of view. Her name is Joy Bauer. She said, when looking at the ingredients, that there's no magic bullet in any of them. And it did not stop there. Jerrod continued to play off of stereotypes of who he thought women were and what he thought women wanted. And to be fair, I'm sure there were women that he knew that wanted these things. He expanded to saying that Too Faced products could have the same effect as plastic surgery. They marketed the Fantastic Plastic Kit. It contained a lash injection mascara to get the look of false lash extensions without the cost or commitment, the wrinkle injection, wrinkle filler, and of course the lip injection. So you can plump your pout because bigger is always better. Then it got a little less icky, in my opinion. And this is where I feel like Too Faced really started to take off because they were an early adopter of social media. They started their YouTube channel in 2008. Jerrod positioned himself as the face of Too Faced, and in those older videos, he did a little behind the scenes, he did a little bit of interviews, trying to bring people into what was going on with Too Faced and just different hot topics in the beauty industry. To be fair, he was kind of always the face of the brand. He was the one doing the ads on QVC, and he kind of always positioned himself as that. But with YouTube, it really spread that even wider. But Too Faced was about to find an avenue that they would continue to utilize to this day that I do feel like they execute pretty well. They tapped into the power of scents. In 2009, Too Faced launched the Chocolate Soleil bronzer. And of course, bronzers were not new, but the chocolate scent of the bronzer, to my knowledge, was new. Jerrod said he was inspired by a chocolate facial that he had gotten, but he also had a second inspiration in that his sister Lisa had recently been diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, and he wanted to create a bronzer that would mimic a tan so that people would feel like they had a tan without having to go in the sun. As part of the marketing, similar to the other products that they had marketed in the past, he claimed that the cocoa powder was a powerful antioxidant and also a mood enhancer, which, you know, it's, in my opinion, it's all marketing, but I can see where he was going with that. And I actually think it's super sweet if he did develop these bronzers because of his sister and trying to help other women to not want to go in the sun as much. It's clear back during this time that Jerrod had a very deep love for his sister. He also created some other products for her, including the Love Lisa Luxury Lip Balm SPF 15 and the Love Lisa Beauty Battle Box. And that battle box, 42% of the profits went to the Melanoma Research Foundation. In my opinion, I do feel like that chocolate scent really set them apart, and they would continue to build on those scents over time. And I will tell you that the chocolate scent is why I fell in love with Too Faced. They used to have this bronzer book, and it had all of the Too Faced bronzers in it, and I freaking love that book, man. I loved those bronzers. I just thought it was absolutely magical. What really made me fall in love with Too Faced was, I still have it. This is my original chocolate bar palette that I bought in probably early 2014, maybe late 2013. That's when it launched. This thing was game-changing for a lot of people. It was seen as extremely high quality back then. All of the reviewers loved it. I loved it. I know it looks kind of typical now, but back in 2013, this really stood out in the market. And I think that it was a combination of a lot of things. It was the scent, the chocolate scent that just wafted off of it, but you also had this texture here of the chocolate bar, and it just created an entire experience that I don't think had happened before. And I was in love with this freaking palette, and I know so many other people were in love with it as well. This was all over YouTube at the time. But of course, Too Faced did not stop with chocolate. They would eventually move on to another scent that I never would have thought would have blown up the way that it did, peach. But we are not going into the peach products quite yet because I have a couple of stories to tell you first, a little bit of tea to spill, and it surrounds the brand Tarte and the influencer named Nikki Tutorials. As Too Faced continued to grow, by 2012, they had released a bunch of standout products. And as a result of that, they were in 1,200 stores within the US. That same year, they got their first big investor. It was a company called Weston Presidio, and they bought their majority stake in Too Faced for $71.3 million. In that investment, Weston Presidio helped them to expand internationally and online with retail partners, growing their reach to 2,250 US locations and 750 international locations. By summer of 2015, Too Faced had quadrupled in size. Absolutely wild. So Weston Presidio was like, all right, we got our investment. We are out. We are selling. And they sold their shares in Too Faced to General Atlantic. Remember, they bought them for $71.3 million. They sold them to General Atlantic for $500 million. Just 1 year later, in 2016, Estee Lauder would come to the table to buy out the entire company, both from General Atlantic and from Jerrod and Jeremy, and they came with a huge number, $1.45 billion. And to that date, to that time, this was the biggest investment that Estee Lauder had ever made. Jerrod and Jeremy would stay on the board and in various roles, but they would no longer own the company. And what's so interesting about this is that this, of course, is a full circle moment for Jerrod because he was working behind the Estee Lauder counter at Saks when he came up with the idea for Too Faced. So Estee Lauder buying it was a very interesting connection. But of course, even when a brand has success, it's not like they can just relax. It's not like they can just chill and be like, all right, we got cool products. Now we can chill. We sold for $1.45 billion. We don't have, we can just relax. Nope. They had to keep coming out with more hit products. A collection that caught people completely by surprise and was kind of like, what is even happening here, was the Better Together collection. And the whole premise of it was that brands don't have to just be in competition. They can actually work together to create things. And in that, Too Faced Cosmetics collaborated with Kat Von D Beauty for a collection. And that collection, I don't think, went over quite as well as they had hoped. There were two heart-shaped palettes. One of them was Too Faced, the other one was KVD Beauty, and the Too Faced one had Jerrod's dog Clover on the front, and the Kat Von D one had Kat's cat. The cat's name was Piaf, and that was on her. So what you could do, you could put the eyeshadow palettes together to make one singular heart. Along with the eyeshadow palettes, they released different things from their company, their hero products. So Kat had her eyeliner in there, and Jerrod had the Born This Way mascara in there. I think people were just more weirded out than anything, if I remember the vibe, like kind of like, this is strange, because they just didn't seem to go together at all, like the vibes of the two brands. But I think that that was what the two brands were going for, is that they didn't really go together, but they could.
It has been the most positive, energizing, inspiring thing I think I have done in so long. And I think that Too Faced and Kat Von D, the brands, can look maybe so different, but really we're more alike than we are different. And you said that to me, and that's what I love.
When Jerrod came over to my house and pitched this idea of having a heart-shaped component, where it was half of it would be Kat Von D, half of it would be Too Faced, and then when you put them together, you can create a lot of looks.
I don't know. The reaction just was not great to the collaboration. I specifically wanted to mention this collaboration because it becomes very important very soon in the story. In order to get there, let's fast forward a little bit to April of 2017, where a feud erupted between Too Faced and another brand, Tarte Cosmetics, which was extremely popular at the time. Now, a lot of the tweets involved in the story have been deleted, but 17 Magazine had text versions of them, so you're gonna see some of the screenshots from the 2017 article and some real screenshots from Twitter. I got all the Twitter ones that I could, but some of them are just lost to history. So if they look weird, that's why. This is the story. So Too Faced had a viral lipstick called Unicorn Tears, and it was really cool because it was iridescent. You could either wear it alone or you could layer it over top of other lipsticks to make them more iridescent. It was really neat. And in March of 2017, Tarte came out with a unicorn themed collection. It was called Make Believe in Yourself, and it was very, very popular. It included a ton of products like a brush set, of course, an eyeshadow palette, and a highlighter. And then they ended up expanding this collection to include a liquid highlighter, which is going to be important in just a second. I do still have my Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette, and I remember reviewing this and just being so in love with this when it came out. And I know it looks like I never used these eyeshadow palettes, but remember I was reviewing makeup constantly. So I didn't really get a chance to enjoy a makeup palette before I had to move on to something else to review something else. But I freaking love this palette, dude. I loved it. So we didn't know at the time why Too Faced was super mad about this, but they put up this post, and this is actually Chloe Morello's face. They didn't credit her, which a lot of people thought was weird. But anyway, the caption on this said, "Copycats aren't unicorns," and then the hashtag, "There aren't unicorns in the Amazon." And of course, this was a dig at Tarte because Tarte had all the Amazonian clay product. It was one of their big hero lines of products. If you have watched any of my Behind the Controversies before, you know that there is one particular person that always seems to pop up and start causing drama. And I want you to take a second and think, who could that influencer be that ended up blowing this up and making a ton of drama? If you guessed Jeffree Lynn Star, then you're correct. At the time, I would have sworn that Tarte was either paying him or he was just in a real sweet spot with the brand because he went hard for Tarte and against Too Faced. He went on a tweet storm, a rampage, tweet after tweet after tweet for like 3 days about this unicorns thing and something else that we'll talk about. Not only did he go on a tweet storm, but he also did a very long Snapchat rant. Here's a clip.
Okay, I just want to come on here for a second as someone that has been buying makeup for a really long time and someone that is a fan of the brand Too Faced. Now, I know some people are not going to like this opinion because it's me, and I guess whenever it involves me, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. But hold on a second. Recently, the brand Tarte Cosmetics put out an entire unicorn collection with unicorn brushes, lipstick, mascara, palette, everything. So I'm scrolling through Instagram right now, and the owner of Too Faced just threw major shade at Tarte Cosmetics. So this is the owner of Too Faced Instagram page. He posts a picture of his own Unicorn Tears lipstick, hashtag, "There aren't unicorns in the Amazon." It's a pretty common fact that Tarte has a huge Amazon collection. I'll tell you what the problem here is. Who's that insecure that they have to post something that shady about another brand? And of course, 10 minutes later, after hundreds of hate comments, the picture is now off of his page. Girl, already? If you had the f***ing balls to tweet that in your mansion, you should have the balls to keep it up on your motherfucking Instagram. But I'm over here scratching my head like, as a makeup lover and as a makeup fan, you're shading another brand so petty and gross. Like, it wasn't even creative. It just sucked. But I guess he sold his brand to Estee Lauder, which is great. Congratulations. But you have so much money now, it's clouding your f***ing judgment, fool. Wake the f*** up. Who is that delusional and dumb to think that they invented unicorn makeup? You want me to spill the real f***ing tea right now? You want me to keep it really real? I literally despise the owner of Lime Crime. But you guys want some f***ing facts? Who created unicorn lipstick 7 years ago? All tea, all shade. Lime Crime has had unicorn lipsticks for a long time. So Jerrod, let's come back to earth, baby. Let's come back. I'm just saying, y'all, I am so disappointed as a fan of makeup, and I'm just done supporting people who are going to treat people like that.
So like I said, we had the Snapchat rant, but I want to go through his tweets because it was wild. All right, this is how it went. His first tweet said, "LOL, when the owner of Too Faced throws shade at Tarte Cosmetics like he invented unicorns. Hashtag egomaniac." Next one, funny how he deleted the hashtag 10 minutes later. "If you have the balls to say it, keep it up there and don't be scared of backlash." Next, "Since at Too Faced thinks they invented unicorns, maybe they should sue Starbucks. Hashtag egomaniac." I do think that Starbucks had a unicorn frappuccino at this period of time. That's what I think he's talking about. Then he goes on. When someone's ego is so big that they think they invented unicorn makeup, okay, Too Faced, you can't fool anyone. What about Lime Crime, who of course built their brand on unicorn lipsticks? I do have a behind the controversy on them, but that's another story. Next one. Shout out to Tarte Cosmetics for being an amazing brand, always serving quality products. Sorry, the industry is full of snakes. Then the rant continued with personal attacks on Jerrod and also dragging in influencer Nikki Tutorials. Now, I am going to tell you that story, but I want to finish the Tarte story first, and then I'll tell you the Nikki Tutorial story because I don't want it to get too confusing. This period of time was the height not only of beauty YouTube, but also beauty drama channels. And Sam from Here for the Tea was one of the biggest drama channels. She was really big in the investigative piece. In that, she exposed what she believed was the real reason behind the hashtag there aren't any unicorns in the Amazon thing. Apparently, that liquid highlighter that was part of the second round of the Make Believe in Yourself collection was originally called Unicorn Tears. And Too Faced was pissed about that because they owned the trademark for Unicorn Tears. Remember, they had that iridescent lipstick called Unicorn Tears. And it wasn't just the shade, it was on the box. It was prominent that this was Unicorn Tears and it stood on its own. Being me, I just wanted to fact check and make sure that Too Faced owned the trademark for Unicorn Tears at the time. And I did find that, but I also found a lawsuit that had nothing to do with Tarte. And I find this absolutely fascinating, so I want to share it with you, and it has to do with another brand that you may have heard of. But before I get into this, I just want to preface to you, I'm just a mom in my basement that likes to research this stuff. I am not a lawyer, so please take any legal things that I say with a grain of salt because I'm not professionally trained. But this is what I read in the lawsuit, and you can read it down below. It will be linked. Apparently, the Unicorn Tears trademark actually belonged to a different company from June of 2015 until it was abandoned in December of 2021. And that company was Glow Concept Inc. Glow Concept Inc. is the parent company for the brand Winky Lux. Now, that was the exact same time that Too Faced claimed they had the trademark, so I was really weirded out by this. So I did a little bit more digging, and I found out that apparently something happened in the process where Too Faced was applying for this trademark. What I learned was that there were two different types of trademarks. Too Faced owned one, and Winky Lux owned the other. Too Faced got the principal register for the mark Unicorn Tears for cosmetics and cosmetic preparations, and Glow Concept Inc., aka Winky Lux, had a common law rights to Unicorn Tears for lip gloss only. Basically, what happened was that Winky Lux was using the term Unicorn Tears for a shade name of one of their, what do they call? They're called Gloss Boss lip glosses, where Too Faced got the name for just products, cosmetic products in general. Because Winky Lux got theirs first, Too Faced couldn't stop them from having that. But on the flip side, because the Gloss Boss wasn't actually called Unicorn Tears, like the whole product wasn't called Unicorn Tears, they couldn't stop Too Faced from naming their product Unicorn Tears. And if you're an avid watcher of my makeup news show, What's Up in Makeup, your ears might have just perked up because we literally just talked about a different situation like this a few weeks ago with a current lawsuit with Glow Recipe and Makeup by Mario, because it's pretty much the exact same situation where Makeup by Mario came out with a lip gloss with the shade name Watermelon Glow. Well, the trademark for Watermelon Glow is owned by Glow Recipe, but the court looks at shade names different than they look at a whole branded line. So in my opinion, prediction wise, I think Makeup by Mario is going to win the lawsuit because like imagine if every single shade name were trademarked. Like you wouldn't be able to have a shade named Rose or a shade named Chocolate or, you know, in Tarte's case, Mahogany. They wouldn't be able to have any shade names repeated throughout brands. So that's why the USPTO allows for shade names the same name as maybe a full line. So how does this relate back to Tarte? Well, in a huge burst of irony, Sam uncovered that Too Faced had sent multiple cease and desist to Tarte when they said they wanted to name that highlighter Unicorn Tears. And we're like, you can't, we own the trademark. And Tarte's like, well, you know, it's just a shade name. We technically can, but it looks like Tarte ended up backing off of it. I guess it just wasn't worth it to them to go to court over it, because if you look at the boxes that were actually produced and the products that were actually produced, Unicorn Tears is nowhere on there, which probably was pretty smart, because I don't know if it would have been worth it to call it Unicorn Tears except for to just say, you know, they wanted to stick it to Too Faced. But that's how that one rolled out, and that's how that one ended. Well, sort of ended, because we found out about 6 months after Tarte launched their Make Believe in Yourself collection why Too Faced may have been really pissed about this collection. Sophie from Trend Mood sneaked a picture of Too Faced's next collection. And yeah, it was a unicorn collection, and that may have been the reason behind all of this all along. And here it is. Here is the eyeshadow palette from the Too Faced collection. And yeah, I think that they were a little nervous that by the time this came out that it'd be old news and people would say it was just a copy of Tarte's and that it wasn't as good. And I honestly think that the team over at Too Faced, Jerrod, whoever made that post, was just a little threatened by the Tarte collection coming out first, knowing that this was on the way. So that was the Tarte story. Let's get into the Nikki tutorial story, because this one is absolutely wild. For context, I want to just make sure I stress that Too Faced was everywhere during this period of time, all over the stores. They were all over the internet. Had completely infiltrated the YouTube beauty space. Every influencer was talking about Too Faced. Even though I don't think influencers can be credited for all of the sales of Too Faced during this time, I do personally think it was a significant amount. So I do think that Too Faced saw this, and they knew one of the biggest players in the beauty space at this time was Nikki Tutorials. She had come out with a video that went uber super ridiculously viral called The Power of Makeup in 2015. That video now in 2025 is sitting at 43 million views. And a lot of people credit that video for the start of the boom of influencers on YouTube when they really started to blow up. A lot of people credit Nikki's Power of Makeup for that. And Too Faced saw that and they were like, yes, we want a piece of that. Hey, Nikki, you want to come out with a Power of Makeup collection with Too Faced? And Nikki was like, heck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the Power of Makeup collection collaboration between Too Faced and Nikki Tutorials was born.
After a year of working on it, I am here to reveal my collaboration with Too Faced. Too Faced and I have worked on this limited edition, The Power of Makeup collection by me, Nikki Tutorials. And here it is, guys. Here is the box. This collection, the Power of Makeup collection, comes with an eyeshadow palette, a full-sized sketch marker eyeliner in black, a deluxe Shadow Insurance eyeshadow primer, a highly exclusive purple Better Than Sex mascara, and of course my collection wasn't complete without some glitter, and this is a beautiful deluxe glamour dust glitter in Glitterly. Let's start with what I'm most excited for, my palette. Oh my god. Let me just can you just look at it? Just look at it. Just for a second. Just take it all in. So the first shade right here is called Ivy. And if you're following me on Snapchat, you know I have a very cute fur baby called Ivy. She's my little dog. This is such a unique purple because it's bright and out there, but it has this sheen to it that makes it even brighter and almost glowing like. Underneath we have I Will Always Love You blush, this one right here, and Justify My Love blush. And what I did was I picked my two favorite Too Faced blushes to take on the go, and I love my peach blush, I love my pink blush. Often I just mix them in between, so they had to be my palette. This entire set retails for $56. For this $56, you get 9 eyeshadows, 2 blushes, a bronzer, a highlighter, eyeliner, full-sized, glitter, purple mascara, and a Shadow Insurance Plus. Also, I created these little mini guides on to create your favorite looks. It's got even this like vampy look. It's got all these like little mini tutorials for you. So for $56, you are Power of Makeup. I cannot wait for you to see this collection in real life, to touch this collection, to play with it, to transform your face, and just to love makeup, because that is what I'm all about. I just want you to love your makeup and don't feel any guilt for it. And any makeup shamers out there, just blind them with your glow. I really hope you like this collection because we worked so hard on it, and it's surreal. It's very surreal.
What I love about this video is that Nikki is so excited. You can tell she's just so genuinely excited and so proud and so nervous and just like genuine emotions of someone who has never done anything like this before. And just the excitement is just overflowing, and it is so sweet, and it breaks my heart what happened next. Because the palette got into the hands of influencers, and it wasn't just people who got it in PR. A lot of different people who got this palette were like, this is not the palette that Nikki was showing in her video. The quality of this palette is awful. For example, my girl Stephanie Nicole, that I miss with my entire heart and soul, did a review of this palette, and her swatches look like absolute trash compared to Nikki's.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is my review of the Too Faced The Power of Makeup by Nikki Tutorials collaboration. So if you guys saw on my Instagram, you will know that I don't like this palette. I think Nikki does some amazing eye looks. She's definitely a very talented artist. So here I'm gonna do a finger swatch, and then I'm gonna do the brush swatch right below it. So this is starting in the top row here. You can see that these shimmer shadows take a lot of work. I find this one to be one of the worst. So I wanted to show you, if you go back over and try to build it up, how they'll work. So I packed on some more on my brush, and I went back over these swatches. The silver took more than just more swatches. I had to go back in and actually like try to pat it on, to really pack it on to get any kind of color payout. Next here is the second row. The gold is really pretty when I swatch it with my finger, but with a brush, it's terrible. The next two matte shades are decent. They're okay. They're kind of creamy feeling. I will show you, I will go back on and try to build up the shimmer, the Irresistible. I find it works best if you pat it on opposed to swiping. It's still not really working, so I go back in for a third time. I mean, you really need to work these shadows. The last row is the blue that I'm wearing. It doesn't swatch very well with a brush, and the purple is very patchy, and then the black is more like a gray. It's terrible, it's patchy, it's just not a good shadow. And I'll go back through again and try to build up the two shimmer shades to show you with some work what you can get. Overall, I find these shadows pretty terrible. Next are the blushes, just very standard kind of blushes. They're a little dry for my tasting, the bronzer and the highlight. So in closing, I would not repurchase this. I would not recommend this. I can't even recommend this palette for a beginning palette because I just don't like it. I think this may be in the bottom 3 collaboration palettes that I have purchased.
There was a ton of speculation, and there still is to this day, that Too Faced did 2 runs of this palette. One of a good formula, and then a very large one of the low-cost, not good formula. And at the time, I didn't know how this could be possible, because when you're talking cosmetic manufacturing, you have to have what they call an MOQ, or a minimum order quantity, and those are usually pretty high. So in order to create like a good version, they would have to order a significant amount of them. Either that, or maybe they took the samples and just like plugged the samples into the palette and gave it to Nikki. That's all I can think of how that could possibly have happened. Because it is hard to deny that the swatches that Nikki showed were very, very different than the ones that influencers showed. Now imagine being Nikki. The Nikki with the joy in her eyes, the one that had worked so hard, that was so excited, and to see reviews from her peers saying that the quality of the palette was not good. I can only imagine the heartbreak that she felt. 6 months after the launch, Nikki did speak out just a little bit about what happened with the launch. She said, "I've been sabotaged from the beginning. There's so many things I want to say, but I can't. I want to, but I can't." And then she said, "Please know I always want the best for you, and I've been played dirty."
Sometimes I just want to spill the tea and let you guys know the truth about so many things I see in the beauty world, but I can't. If I could tell you the contract that Nikki Tutorials signed for her Too Faced palette and what they did to her, you guys would fucking scream. But if she wants to talk about that one day, I will let her. They probably had her sign so many contracts and agreements that she's not ever allowed to even speak of it. But I'll tell you this, Two-Faced. Keep shading brands and running your f***ing mouth, and the truth will come out. But for now, I'll let you sleep. The difference between me and them, I'm not owned by a company. I'm not owned by a corporation. I own myself, and I'm always going to keep it real with you guys and share my thoughts. The truth always comes out. It might take a few months, might take a while, you never know. But bitch, when it hits, it's gonna hit hard.
It was reported that in 2016, Too-Faced made $270 million in net sales, and it was speculated that Nicki's palette was a huge part of that. And with that, let us get back to Jeffree Star. Okay, so he continued his rant. He started the rant with the whole thing with Tarte and the there aren't unicorns in the Amazon thing, but then he shifted. Remember, this is all happening in succession on the same day, and then it extended over a couple more days. So right after he ripped into Jerrod Blandino and Too-Faced about the Tarte thing, he says this, "Hey, Jerrod Blandino, should I expose how shady you were with Nikki Tutorial's contract, or maybe save that for another day?" Then he says, "If you guys knew the real truth behind Nikki's Too-Faced palette contract, you'd cry for her, but I'll let her tell you one day." He ends up spilling it all, just so you know. He's going to tell you. There's so much shady and disgusting behavior that goes on behind the scenes in the beauty world, it's hard watching people get burned. Then this one that sounded like a threat to me, people are scared of the truth getting out, TikTok. I don't know, I guess he was trying to, hope that maybe Too-Faced would make a statement on it. I don't know. But they didn't. They didn't make a statement. So he continued, "I only spill the tea when there's facts. People deserve to know the truth about people." And then finally, Jerrod Blandino, "You guys took advantage of an innocent girl and gave her almost nothing. How the fuck do you sleep at night?" So that was all in one day. Continued on to the next 2 days with Jeffree waking up to so many brand owners and companies telling me horror stories about Jerrod Blandino, the definition of insecure. And then, remember when he wrote this message only 7 months ago, then does the exact same thing he said he was against, #egomaniac. Now, like I said, these tweets have been deleted and these news articles linked directly to the tweet and didn't put what they were responding to. So I'm not 100% sure what this was in reference to, but I have a feeling it had to do with the Better Together collection with Kat Von D, where Jerrod had said, "I always thought that was so strange because no one needs to fail for us to succeed. There's something going on in social media where a mean, critical voice has been given to a platform just to say things people would never say it to someone's face. In the end, we're all better together." That's what I think was the quote, but I honestly don't know. I just found that later and the timeline matched up. It was something like that, probably. So Jeffree then continues, "People try to cover their tracks when they get exposed. I have some major receipts I will show once my lawyer clears it." Then he goes back to Tarte and he says, "I can't sit back and watch brands like Tarte, who I love and respect, get dissed by some asshole who thinks he's the queen. #gross." And then finally, the last one that I saw was, "And he's still staying silent because he knows he left Nicki with pennies and made all the profit. Truly disgusting." So that's when I think this ended for a minute, but there was one more tweet on April 28th, and it was showing tweets from Nicki in the past where Jeffree said, "While Jerrod Blandino drives a Bentley and lives in a mansion, Nicki has been suffering in silence." I think that's a weird thing to say though, because maybe she was suffering mentally and emotionally, but I would highly doubt she was suffering in silence because she didn't drive a Bentley. I mean, she was one of the biggest beauty influencers at the time, and I know how much money I was making at the time for my, 3,000 to 5,000 views a video. That was the year that I quit teaching to do YouTube full time. I know I wasn't making a ton of money with my little views, but when you're getting millions of views per video, I think Nicki was doing okay financially, I would imagine. So I feel like Jeffree was really playing this up here. But what also sat wrong with me besides that little nitpicky piece was I always wondered whether Nicki was okay with Jeffree spilling her business to the entire internet. And I'm not sure that she was. And I have evidence of that, again, from Sam from Here for the Tea. She actually talked to Jeffree right around this time and asked him about the Nicki Tutorials thing, and this is what he had said. Her and I are no longer friends. You can confirm that, but I still respect her hustle, and I watched firsthand how they abused her and know how much she got paid. It's embarrassing. I think anyone else but me would be scared to mention the contract. I did it to make a statement, and so the audience has a taste as to why her palette was so shitty. She approved something, and what was produced was not the same quality. So hold on to that for a minute, because that part of the story isn't over, but timeline wise, I need to interject another piece because it involves Jerrod's sister, Lisa, who would prove to be extremely problematic and an absolute PR nightmare for Jerrod and Too Faced. So Lisa, in response to Jeffrey's tweet storm, went off on customers who were talking bad about Too Faced, and it is bad. This is the tweet that his sister actually put up in response to someone being critical of Too Faced. She says, "You can't buy Too Faced. You're no longer ever in life allowed to ever even look at a precious piece of Too Faced, and if I ever see a piece in your clammy hands, I will smack it out so hard it'll fly for miles. Now get off here and go play with your Revlon." She proceeded to call a different customer a and she told another person to pray for Jeffrey. It was wild. So Jeffrey, of course, comes back on Snapchat and responds to Lisa's rant.
Hey guys, I didn't think I would be coming on here so soon, but some crazy shit is going down right now and I am just in literal shock. So if you guys don't know, recently Jerrod and Too Faced sold their brand, so he's not the current owner, but he has been the owner for the last 15 years. He may not technically own the brand anymore, but he is like me, where I am the face of my own brand, and he is still the creative director. So I'm logging on today and I uploaded a new video to YouTube, and people start sending me all these screenshots of Jerrod's own sister going crazy about me. Here is Lisa, who is Jerrod's sister. Of course, she has a quote from him on her page, and this is her screening on Instagram. Here is her going off in the comment section telling people, "You can't buy Too Faced anymore. You are no longer in your life allowed to ever look at a precious piece of Too Faced." And then she goes on to say, "You need to pray for Jeffrey," with a fist at the end, which to me is an indirect threat. I don't know how you guys take it, but that's disgusting. And she even made an Instagram post about me, and she jokes and says that I have mental problems, which, if you really think that's something to even mention, is so sad.
It reads, "I always ignore worthless trash. Jeffree Star has a pattern, bad habit, mental problem, whatever, of hiding behind his camera, spreading lies and attacking real lines he can't compete with, using negativity for notoriety because no one buys his clown makeup. I say this because it's so important, especially for women, to stand up for yourself. Too Faced was the one privately owned company who truly is its creative through and through, not a line of investors behind a face, as most, but actually legit. The brilliant mind, strength, fight it took to birth and then grow a company to this crazy global magnitude is immense. And the same brilliant mind, strength, and fight that will never allow another line to copy, ride their coattails, or make money off Jerrod's ideas or Too Faced. You know why? Because they're not stupid. So please don't mistake our kind, positive, loving beauty for weakness, or you'll probably have a bad day, and then it cuts off.
She is comparing me telling the truth to the public as a mental problem. So me exposing something that you're afraid of, that means I have mental problems. She goes on to say that no one buys my clown makeup. No one buys my makeup, huh? Huh, that's news. Is she serious? The fact that she is comparing drugstore brands to her brand being superior, telling me that I don't sell anything. I'm like, the ego on those two, the just insecurities they're projecting, the immaturity level for their age is just sad. I will never let someone take me down to their level. I will not be dragged down to the filth that they come from. I know and I respect myself more than that. I just never imagined as someone who 10 years ago bought their first Too Faced palette would be having the owner and his sister degrade me and treat me like shit like this. It's sad. I am disappointed in them as a fan of makeup, as a beauty lover, and as a brand owner and a business owner. I am just disgusted. Their motto is own your pretty and being secure and self-love, and they're calling my brand clown makeup. I hope that they can come back to earth and realize that money does not make you superior. You are not better than me or anyone. Hopefully someone can call those two and say, hey, put down the phone, stop making it worse for yourself, and relax and own it. Now, I've heard so many things behind the scenes the last few days, and the main issue is Nicki's contract, and they're mad that I spoke the truth and that the truth is out there. They can't handle it. I think if they want to do the right thing, they should apologize to Nicki for doing her dirty, and they should own up to their mistakes, say sorry, and keep it moving, and then people will support them. But I cannot support a brand that is treating me personally like this, so I will not be using Too Faced on my channel ever again. I'm good.
But on the Nicki front, it goes even deeper. And because this is a deep dive and we're already here, let's go deeper, my friends. Courtesy again of Sam from Here for the Tea. It turns out that this may not have been about Nicki tutorials at all. Jeffree had beef with Jerrod Blandino before all of this. So a little bit of a backstory. Jeffree Star used to be best friends with Kat Von D. Jeffree says they were best friends for 10 years until one day Kat posted this post onto all of the internet. I personally found it on Facebook. Absolutely wild, where she just broke up with Jeffree extremely publicly, and Jeffree said he did not know this was coming. This happened in July of 2016, just a few months before his Twitter rant. She posted, quote, "After years of making excuses for and rationalizing Jeffree's inappropriate behavior, including promoting drug use, racism, and bullying, I can no longer hold my tongue after recent events." It had to do with Jeffree allegedly not paying someone for work they had done. Anyway, Kat continues, "I know that over the years, many of you were introduced to Jeffree through me, and regardless if you chose to continue to follow him or not, I would like to disassociate myself from him and his brand from this point on. I plan on posting a video explanation as to why I felt compelled to make such a statement, but for the time being, I simply want to apologize to anybody and everybody who has ever had to deal with any of this negativity, and yes, with a heavy heart, I will be pulling the shade Jeffree from my collection, sending extra love to everyone out there." And she did make a video basically saying the same thing, and needless to say, Jeffree was pissed off.
I've been firsthand witness to a lot of things, which I know you guys already know. I mean, just the way he treats not only his fans, but just brands. And I think anybody that even intimidates him slightly, it's like a very easy trigger for him to just attack. But in reality, I can tell you how he started his makeup line. I can tell you because I was there, and it started in my living room at my house. But I went to such great lengths. I even hooked him up with a factory that was actually producing my Everlasting liquid lipstick formula, plus a lot of my eyeshadows at the time. And Judy was the name of the lady that was, you know, the head honcho over there. And I basically got Jeffree a meeting over there and to see if he could start his own makeup line. And, you know, even Judy told me after meeting with Jeffree, you know, the only reason he even got that meeting was because I vouched for him. That when I was helping him out with the creative process of making his own makeup line, there was a point that we reached where I told him, hey, look, I can help you with mood boards, which I did. I just can't do your artwork for you. You know, it's something that I keep really exclusive to my makeup line, you know. I think my own team would be very disappointed if I started drawing for somebody else's makeup line. So I said, hey, look, I'm not going to draw the artwork for your makeup line, but I have a guy who's really great, and I've used him for tons of projects. I mean, he is like a lettering and logo specialist, and he's a really hardworking dude from Detroit. His name was BJ Betts. So what happened is that I introduced Jeffree to BJ, and then BJ drew up his logos, and then Jeffree went forward with them, and it's the logos that you guys see now on all of the caps of all of his lipsticks, and then never paid BJ. And BJ would call him, and basically Jeffree blocked his phone. And then so finally BJ called from a landline, and Jeffree answered, and then when he realized that it was BJ asking for payment, he hung up on him and blocked that number, and that's just what he does. So the minute that I found out about that, which was this last Saturday, I texted Jeffree and said, hey Jeffree, can you explain to me why you haven't paid BJ? And he basically told me to f*** off, or to go fuck myself, and then blocked my number, and that's just how he does it. And then, you know, he blocks me on Instagram and blocks me on Twitter, so like as if I even followed him anyway, just because, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love to follow him. For me, like, it's obnoxious to like constantly promote like what fancy car you're leasing or renting or whatever. You can see like different variations of the star, and then like if you like zoom in on this one in particular, where you see it was a J and then an S, and then you see this little circular thing around this side here. This was the preliminary sketch for the logo that Jeffrey uses now. You can't sit there and post all these videos of you like, get ready with me in my Rolls Royce, and then you can't like pay a guy who worked really hard for you. I mean, what kind of message does that send out? Instead of just blocking me, you could have just talked it out. You know, the Jeffrey that he is now is like this monster, this big, like, attention-seeking, fame-desiring, money-driven monster that I want no part in. You can go ahead and pick on all these other people that might be intimidated and won't say anything back, but Jeffrey, I'm not scared of you. And also, like, if somebody was, you know, picking on you the way that you pick on people, I would stand up for you too. If I do regret anything, is I regret setting Jeffrey up with that factory. I regret being a part of helping somebody become so self-absorbed when I could have probably, you know, at least spoke up a lot sooner.
Hey everyone, so today's video is a really hard one for me to make. I have sat here we're on day 2 now since Kat posted her video about me, and at first it was really shocking to see someone that I've known for 10 years do something so aggressive. It really saddened me because there were so many things that were not true in the video. Kat, I can't believe that you would post something knowingly and calculating it where you knew the response it was going to get. All it says is, "Hey Jeffrey, I just got off the phone with BJ Betts. Please explain to me why you haven't paid him for the artwork that he provided for you." So you guys got to imagine where I'm coming from. My friend has gotten very distant. One of my best friends has just really gone silent on me. And I'm just sitting here like, there was never any fight. There was never any crazy moment. There was never anything. So I sat back and I got really angry. 100% I was like, is this for real? Like, this is so bizarre. Instead of calling me or starting the conversation anyway, it's just, and I'm like, well, in my head, I'm sitting there going, you're not his manager, you're not his lawyer, you're not his business partner. You do work with him slightly on some designs, I guess, but I don't understand why it was her place to say anything. Now, something she also did not mention is that initially she was going to be the investor behind my brand. And what I mean by investing is loaning me a certain amount of money so I could start my company, and then I'd pay her back immediately, and that was that. She agreed to it. I have emails, and we went back and forth. She gave me a lot of amazing advice, and I was really excited. So we're in the lab, I'm making stuff, and she kind of goes silent. And I'm like, hey, you know, like, what's going on? And I never heard back about the investment, which I thought was so strange because we're talking, you know, years and years of friendship. She said she was down, and then she went silent. So, back to the logo. So I asked her if she knew any artists, and she put me in touch with BJ Betts. Let me read it to you. I said, first off, he, meaning BJ, never did artwork for me, and we passed on using him. What I mean by this is that he did start an idea, but he did not design my entire packaging. So at the time, BJ wanted to, well, I wanted him to design my whole packaging for my liquid lip, and BJ started drawing a logo. He asked, do I want him to design my entire packaging? And I said, hey, let's start with the logo and see what happens. So that screenshot that Kat held up is like about 20 logos that he had quickly sketched up. At the time, I was stoked on getting something done, but I was also a little fearful because at that moment, I had invested my entire, like every last dime I had on my brand. So I'm just this person that really doesn't have a lot of money left. I'm trying to start my brand, and point blank, I couldn't afford it. So when I found out what he charged, I was like, oh my God, like I can't afford that at that moment. Like, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to step away. I just didn't know what I was doing back then. I definitely learned my lesson. If anyone out there is doing business with someone, make sure you have a contract or a little agreement or something before you start working on ideas, because this is how things turn so ugly. So here we are, my graphic guy did the logo for me. So he did a mirrored J, put it in there. Does it look similar? 100% it does. But did I steal the logo? 100% I did not. So long story short, BJ has been paid. He has been fully paid out. There is no debt. There's no pay your bills. All that crazy bullying and just psychotic behavior that I've seen is just so insane. I don't understand why people are coming so hard when they don't know the real story. I write Kat back and I say, first off, he never did artwork for me and we passed on using him. The fact that you even have the nerve to text me after you are telling the owner of Too Faced Cosmetics that I tried stealing ideas from you from our lab is truly disgusting and disturbing. You and I do not know each other anymore, and the past is the past. Please worry about yourself and stay the fuck out of my business. That was the final thing I've ever said to her. 2 weeks prior to this conversation, I was at an event hosted by Too Faced Cosmetics. Someone very high up at Too Faced, I am not going to name that person out of privacy and respect, but this person told me at the event some strange things. She said, hey, we're doing a collab with Kat right now. Our photo shoot was at 10 a.m. She didn't even show up until 2. She's very difficult to work with, and we're just kind of at a loss for words. And I was like, that doesn't sound like the friend that I know. That definitely does not sound like Kat, but I have not seen her in months and months. I have no idea what's going on in her head. I don't know what she's going through lately. So, she also tells me the worst thing I've ever heard. Kat told the owner of Too Faced, Jerrod, that I tried to steal an idea from her from the lab that we both use. I was like, I felt like someone had slapped me across my face. Someone that I had known for so long betraying me and lying about me, and she's never really done something like that before, or that I'm aware of. So this person told me this, I was devastated, and I wanted to, get all upset and text her right away, but I said, no, let me file this away. Let me take a deep breath. We haven't spoken in months, and I'm just going to file it away and keep quiet. So, you guys have to understand, when she texted me out of nowhere, talking about something that she knew nothing about, I was like I was on one. I was like, is she for real?
Timeline-wise, this is where we're at. We have the Nikki Tutorials palette launching. Then we have Kat disassociating from Jeffree Star and apparently Jerrod Blandino shunning him. Then we have the launch of the Better Together collection with Kat Von D Beauty and Too Faced. Then we have a few months later, there aren't unicorns in the Amazon hashtag and Jeffree going off on Jerrod Blandino and Too Faced. In order to finish Nikki's story, we need to jump forward a little bit more to October of 2019 when Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson launched their docuseries documenting the creation of the conspiracy palette that they worked on together. Well, Jeffree spills a little bit of tea about Too Faced in the docuseries. This is October of 2019.
So this could go poorly. We'll see.
Well, I have a problem already. You did Ryland's makeup.
Okay.
And you put on one of my enemy's primer on his skin.
Wait, what?
And I couldn't believe his skin didn't melt.
Wait, what? Whose enemy? What?
My enemy.
Who's your enemy?
Too Faced. Oh, your eye twitch. What's in that bag?
Oh no. So I really like this.
The Too Faced chocolate bar palette.
Oh, the packaging's great. Now listen, I will still commend you if you have a sickening design. So the owner of Too Faced and I are not friends. He called, him and his sister called my brand clown makeup. But
Whoa.
somehow I'm selling it, and I used to look up to them and buy their makeup in high school, and now I'm the competitor.
Whoa.
It's crazy. All jokes aside, their packaging is great. Their formula has went downhill over the years since they've been bought. And I've seen YouTubers and other influencers take dirt because they didn't know and they were, imagine you were here's an example, and this is on record, so this isn't me spilling the tea or anything. Nikki Tutorials collab with Too Faced. I hate that we're mentioning them again. It's a whole set.
Yes, in collaboration with Too Faced.
But she accepted a deal.
Let's start with what I'm most excited for, my palette.
Where they gave her a flat fee of $50,000, and that was it. She made no money from the palettes. The brand went on to sell over $10 million of products. and probably more than that. And she got just a little flat fee and some dirt, no residuals, nothing. And she didn't know.
We've worked so hard on this. I've worked so hard on this. The entire Too Faced team worked so hard on this.
When she told me, I was so horrified. Who would have thought
I know.
you would be doing a collab with such a prestigious, huge brand? I'm like,
So first off, you get this little booklet of Nikki tutorial. She's so pretty. And you get a bunch of different looks that she created with this palette.
So surreal.
tonight we're gonna celebrate. And when I kind of let that secret out, it turned really ugly online. So of course Too Faced hates me. But
well, they should. Well, but because you exposed the fucking grossest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Exactly.
And it just concludes the row of my dreams.
So, you know,
what is $50,000, $10 million, $50,000 percentage-wise? I mean, that's point.
it's a joke.
0.005%. Oh,
That's what she got.
my God.
Allegedly.
And what's fascinating about this is the tea that he spilled here in the docuseries. If you watched YouTube drama channels religiously back in 2017, you probably already knew a lot of this because the original YouTube beauty drama channel, Sanders Kennedy, actually talked about a lot of these things, but the details are a little bit different from what Jeffrey said to what Sanders said. Now, Sanders has deleted all of his videos. I couldn't get this one. There's no re-upload. I couldn't get it. But according to Sam, Sanders had showed her the contract and she verified that it was real, even though Sanders didn't show it on screen because I guess he was afraid of being sued. So Sanders talked about how Nikki had been paid $50,000 and he reported that they sold 150,000 units, which equals closer to $9 million rather than the $10 million that Jeffrey's talking about here. But either way, it's a shit ton of money. Sanders also said that it took Too Faced 9 months to pay Nikki and that during that time, she wasn't allowed to work with any other brands, which could have hurt her money significantly. Because remember, she was huge at the time and cutting off other collabs during this time period. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how much money she lost out on. Sanders also shared that there was a planned restock of the palette, but that never happened. Now, if all of this is true and they sold $9 million worth of product, how much should Nikki have been paid based on what other influencers we know have been paid in the past? Remember, she was paid $50,000. I know if you watch my channel, you know where I'm going because this is what I'm familiar with. This is what I know. So we have to call back to the Morphe bankruptcy because we have the data of what happened in the Morphe bankruptcy and the numbers that were thrown out there. So James Charles and Jaclyn Hill, when Morphe and Forma declared bankruptcy, they claimed that they were still owed about $2 million apiece. And I would dare to say these were not the first payments that they were owed that were a lot of money. Now, also in those documents, we found out that Jaclyn Hill was paid a 15% royalty on anything that was Jaclyn Hill related. And remember, she came out with the Jaclyn Hill palette that sold a stupid amount of eyeshadow palettes, probably similar or more than the number that Nikki sold. If we crunch the numbers and we say that Nikki got that same 15% deal, if she had negotiated that the way that Jaclyn had negotiated with Morphe, that would mean Nikki would have earned $1.45 million. That's 29 times higher than what she actually earned and 2,800% less. We do need to address the elephant in the room, and that of course it was Nikki's responsibility to get lawyers involved and make sure she had a good contract. She even admitted that it was her responsibility, but also that's just really cruddy to take advantage of an influencer that just didn't know. I think that that's super, super messed up. And if Morphe can be moral and pay their influencers an appropriate rate, Too Faced should have been able to do the same thing. So after Jeffrey's video with Shane came out, Nikki did talk a little bit more about the situation publicly. She said on Twitter, "I signed my contract with Too Faced back then because I was naive and didn't know better. At the end of the day, I signed it. It's my own fault. But what I'll never forgive is that allegedly they changed the palette's quality behind my back. thousands of negative reviews, and I was clueless. I had to see all these negative reviews while the palettes I had were outstanding. They're lying in their videos to get views is what I was told. I don't care about the money, but I had to fight for years to prove my authenticity and gain your trust again. Now the situation is in the past. It was my biggest lesson I ever had to learn, but I'm glad it brought me so much knowledge. I'm thankful to Ofra Cosmetics, who she had an active collab with at the time, for showing me how it should be done. Glow babies, the future is bright. I have exciting things happening soon. And to any newer influencers about to get a collab, get a lawyer and triple check that shit. To my knowledge, Too Faced never responded to any of it. Okay, now that we've spent a little time in the drama and the tea, let's get into the makeup loving side of things and talk about Too Faced's launches that happened right around then and how they helped Too Faced grow as a company. 2015 was a huge year for Too Faced launches. It's when they launched some of their most popular products. So for example, the Born This Way foundation launched that year. The Better Than Sex mascara launched that year. And I found this old commercial for the Better Than Sex mascara. It is absolutely wild.
Don't be afraid, baby. It's just me. Better than sex. All I want is to give you the longest, thickest, most luscious lashes of your life. Think you can handle that? Okay, baby. Dip my wand and let me get to work.
Way better than sex.
Oh, yeah.
With the Better Than Sex mascara, it was all about the bristle design, that hourglass shape. To my knowledge, that did not exist before Better Than Sex. In an article that Jerrod wrote for The Cut, he stated, "It just works. I can't explain why this particular brush works better. The fibers are very specialized and it has a lot to do with the coating and loading of the initial application. It just does. The hourglass shape would destroy another formula." The Better Than Sex mascara was one of the top selling mascaras in all of the United States for many, many years, and it may even still be.
I created Better Than Sex mascara from that holy grail search of creating that perfect mascara that does it all. It had to be thickening, it had to be lengthening, it had to be curling, and it had to be buildable. That's modern. This hourglass shaped brush unlocks the formula. Between layers, you get 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, you get different effects. It gets thicker, it gets longer, it gets more curled. We put power peptides that make it the richest black possible. We put 3-dimensional polymers that wrap themselves around your lashes. And when we got this final version of Better Than Sex back from the lab, it came to our studio and we started applying it to the girls in the office. And when I saw the effects that we'd achieved, I screamed, "Oh my gosh, this is better than sex!" And a mascara and a revolution was born.
But regarding the Born This Way foundation, I think this came into the market at the perfect time because this is when influencers are starting to rise. This is when the full coverage beat was becoming really popular. But if you've ever seen an influencer in the wild with a full beat, you'll know it looks super freaking weird. The way that their makeup looks on camera looks totally different in person. And I can tell you because I have seen it myself. So people were looking to create that full beat look, but still look like they could go out in public and not look so cake-faced. And that was what Born This Way promised, a full coverage, but a natural finish. But along with these hit products, there were also some significant misses. And in that, we need to talk Too Faced holiday collections because the misses of these Too Faced holiday collections were unparalleled. Because remember, this is the height of the eyeshadow palette being the product that everybody wanted. People were collecting eyeshadow palettes, and these palettes were so cute. I actually still have one. I am going to reach over here. I have it over here where I keep all my most special memories from the beauty space. This is the Christmas in New York collection. It's a little scuzzy on the back, but when you opened it, la 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 la, you had this cutie little scene here, and they had a little mini Better Than Sex mascara, and then here was the eyeshadow palette, and you can hear it crackling because I think I used it once. Like legit, this palette probably has not been opened since it launched because it is such bad quality. Of course, it is years old, but let me just go ahead and swatch these for you just so you can see what I'm talking about. Of course, the formula may have been a little bit different when it first launched, but nope, it looked just like this. Like, what is even happening? And then when you used it, it just blended away. It was terrible. Terrible quality. And what's so funny about these holiday palettes is they were the most popular terrible product that I have ever seen in the beauty space. Like, we all knew they were going to be bad. Like, after a while, we got used to it. Like, if you bought this, you knew you were just buying it for display, and it had absolutely nothing to do with you actually wanting to use the product because they were legit all bad. To drive this point further home, I want to either introduce you to or bring you back to a creator that I miss very, very dearly, Kimberly Clark, who started her anti-haul series back in November of 2015. And I wanted to play you what she had to say about the holiday collection that year.
We got the Le Grand Chateau, the Grand Chateau, the big house. This is the 3 mini this is like the Tarte greatest glitz thing where it's like these 3 removable. And these are like, this is the same deal. Do not buy these. They're boring. There's nothing super collectible about it. The like weird cardboard packaging is cute, but like, oh my God, you don't need another fucking cardboard box like lying around. Like, you don't need that. You do not need that. You're gonna throw it away. Like, nah. And these palettes, like, you're not gonna use them. They're just like, they don't have names on it. There's nothing distinguishing about them. They're not pretty, like, and you're not gonna give them away. Like, if you buy them, like I said, it's the same deal with the glitz and glam, whatever the thing is from Tarte. If you know people that love Too Faced shadows and whatever, maybe you can find people, I don't know. You're not gonna, no need. This is not, it's not interesting. Okay, then we got the Grand Palais, which is bigger. The big castle is what the big palace is what that means. $58 from Sephora. Okay, this is the one where everyone's like, ooh, this is the big, pretty, awesome palette with all the Too Faced shadows. Great. When people use this, the glitter fallout is so much that it just contaminates all the shadows. They have a great variety of shadows here, lovely, but oh my God, once those matte shadows ain't matte anymore because they have glitter all over them from the crazy fallout chunky glitter shadows. Like, no, there's no need for that, not helpful, not gonna work, sorry. And again, it's like a big cardboard, no. Okay, then we got the Ulta one, Le Petite Maison, like the little house. Maison, Chateau, Castle, I don't know, French. It's different kinds of dwellings is what they are, with different kind of laser cut cardboard boxes. These shadows, there are 12 hella boring shadows. You have these shadows. You don't need them. It's not like it's an amazing neutral matte palette. I think Too Faced has one of those. If you want some like neutral shadows to like do your thing with, get the matte thing or get the chocolate bar or like all that. Like get the Vegas Nay palette. That one, see, I love the Vegas Nay palette. Want to know why? I don't have it. I'm not going to get it either. Not going to get it. But I like that one better than like the Vice palettes or something because it seems cohesive in this way that doesn't seem challenging. Like row by row, it seems like inspiring and I like that. Anyway, okay, so that's the one Too Faced thing that I would hold out for, and I don't know when it's coming out. Like I said, I love the Love Flush blushes, and apparently there's been like sneak peeks of this Love Flush blush palette, which is all 6 Love Flush blushes in a tiny annoying strip. If you're gonna get one Too Faced palette, wait for that one to come out. I know I am. I'm not getting any of these grand La Poupée, Palais, Tori Fell, Rama Lama, Où est la Bibliothèque, No Merci, de rien.
If you miss Kimberly as much as I do, allow me to direct you to one of my favorite channels and a friend of mine. Their name is Hope Mess Tom. It's the same vibe, but 2025 style. Highly recommend their channel. But now it is time to move on to what I believe was the most hyped makeup launch in the history of the cosmetic industry, the Sweet Peach collection. In an interview with Allure, Jerrod was asked about why he picked peach, and he was quoted as saying, "There's no sexier fruit than peach." And then I researched how many skin-soothing ingredients are in a peach, and I thought, let's try to infuse our formula with actual peach. And it was quite difficult, but we did it. And now it's our #1 fastest selling product. Too Faced launched the original Sweet Peach palette, which again, I still have. Of course I do. The original Sweet Peach palette in spring of 2016. And when I tell you people raved about this palette, people raved about this palette. People loved the peach scent and the quality was so good. Every influencer was loving it. Now, this was launched originally as limited edition and possibly inspired by the success and popularity of the Sweet Peach palette, but more probably this was already in the works from the very beginning and already a plan. There would soon be an entire line of peach products from Too Faced. But where they went so wrong here was instead of making everything high quality like the eyeshadow palette, the line was very hit and miss. So for example, they had this highlighter palette that was absolutely beautiful, but the problem is that the product would not pick up on a brush. I actually ended up returning mine because I just couldn't get the thing to work. I couldn't pick it up on a brush, and using my fingers, I had to like dig and push and dig and push, and then it was starting to get hard pan. I was like, no, absolutely not, and ended up returning it even though it was gorgeous. Along with the eyeshadow palette and the highlighter palette, they also came out with the Papa Don't Peach Blush, which was actually very good. And there were also 8 lip oils. I didn't buy those, so I don't remember whether people like those or not. But I remember when I went to go get stuff from this collection, this was the very first time I had ever waited in an online queue. I remember when it popped up and I was like, oh, well, this is different. And there are 4,000 people ahead of me to buy this collection. And I had jumped on. I was ready. I was trying to review it. So I was on there. And even being like on top of it, at least feeling like I was, there were already 4,000 people ahead of me to purchase the collection. Refinery 29 said in an article that there were 13,000 people in line at once at one point. A rep from Too Faced said that the reason why they did that was because when the peach palette originally launched, they had 40,000 people online at the same time and it crashed the website. So this was a way for them to deal with it when the palette relaunched. Part of the advertising for this campaign, which added to the popularity, was this absolutely adorable commercial that they produced with Laura Lee. It was a play on James and the Giant Peach, but it had that Rankin Bass vibe, cartoon thing, holiday cartoon, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of feel to it. It was so cute. Unfortunately, Too Faced deleted a ton of their old videos, so all that's left is the little teaser that's up on Laura's channel.
Too Faced Cosmetics has announced the possible return of the Sweet Peach eyeshadow palette.
Do you really think we can pull this off?
We always do.
Making Sweet Peach as fast as we can. Now let's get a palette in everyone's hand.
Laura Lee, you're really a fairy? It's a peach miracle.
But the peach miracle didn't stop there because they had something and they wanted to sell more. So on August 31st of 2017, they launched the Peaches and Cream collection. And I will tell you that the Peaches and Cream collection had some of the best products I had ever tried from Too Faced. And what was really cool about it was they expanded beyond the powder products and the lip products, like the more traditional stuff, and they went into complexion with it. That foundation, that peach foundation, was so good. And it broke my heart when I had to throw it away because there wasn't a whole lot left and it was expired and it was bad, but I freaking love that foundation. I love the primer. There were so many pieces from that collection that I absolutely loved, but the worst product in that line, in my opinion, that I had purchased was the one that I had been most excited about. They had teased it for a long time. It looked like a freaking pie. It was this pie bronzer and it had the same issue as the dang highlighter palette where it just would not pick up on a brush. It was just so hard to use. Just the worst quality, but so incredibly cute. As part of this collection, they also released another eyeshadow palette, but this one was all matte, which was different because a lot of eyeshadow palettes were really pushing the shimmer and the shine and the foiled and all of those things, and the duochromes and the multichromes were starting to really hit popularity. So an all matte palette was different and it sold really well, and it was actually a really good palette. There was one peach scandal that I'm not going to go too deep into because I can just tell you very quickly. The lipsticks that came out, I love them. They were amazing. They were creamy. They were beautiful. The peach lipsticks, there was actually a lawsuit between Too Faced and Tatcha where Tatcha accused Too Faced of stealing their trade trade dress. They're designed for the lipsticks. And of all the trade dress lawsuits that I've seen, I feel like this one is the one where I do feel like Tatcha should have won. But it really taught me a lot about trade dress because Tatcha didn't win. The court said it wasn't similar enough. So I still use this as an example when we talk about trade dress lawsuits, even to this day. Now that we've taken a little break from sipping our tea, are you ready to get back in to more? Because another influencer is about to enter the story. Introducing how Tati Westbrook is involved. In 2017, Tati uploaded 3 videos talking about how she would never use Too Faced products again. In this first clip, she addresses it briefly.
But I have to throw a disclaimer out there because I did review a collaboration that Nikki Tutorials did in the past, and I got more heat on that video than I think I've ever gotten in any video ever, and that was her collaboration with Too Faced. A lot of people were really disappointed in that palette, and I totally understand. I really feel genuinely that there were 2 different factories that worked on that palette, and that mine may have been better than a lot of other people's. I know that that collaboration, from what I've heard kind of through the grapevine, I did not hear this from Nikki, but I don't think it was the greatest collaboration. I think there were some shady things going on, and I myself have decided that I'm not putting Too Faced products on my channel anymore. I don't think the company has great ethics. I don't really care for the vibe and what they stand for, and I think their company actually is very two-faced, and I've never come on and said anything negative like that about a brand, but this is the first time that I'm doing it. You guys know I keep it real, and I'm never going to give you a false review, but I felt like that palette, for whatever reason, just put me in such a bad space. I was still really happy to support a fellow YouTuber that I respect and love, and I did enjoy the palette, but it was like a whole big thing. So I'm not gonna make like a rant video as to why I don't like the brand anymore, but there have just been too many things that have happened and too many experiences that I have personally had to feel like I want to support them anymore. So yeah, me and Too Faced were broken up.
In the second one, it's a video review of unicorn makeup, and she says this.
So let's take a look first at this because I'm curious. Oh, it's a heart. This kind of looks a lot like packaging. I don't mention on my channel anymore, so whatever. Ooh, that's pretty actually. It's a lot different looking than I thought it would be. My eye, of course, goes straight to the more shimmery ones. Ooh, that's actually not half bad. Okay, we got a nice copper in here. Ooh, you guys. I thought this was gonna be god awful, to be honest, but that is actually swatching really nice. The setup in here also kind of reminds me of a company that I don't like talking about on my channel. So what an awesome knockoff. Not bad.
And then in the third one, near the end of the year, she finally addresses why she's no longer going to use Too Faced.
I know you guys are all waiting for it. You're wanting to know if I'm going to purchase any Too Faced to review on my channel because they have come out with, you know, some pretty cool looking stuff, but you guys know I've been very vocal. I have said that I am not supporting the brand here on my channel anymore. I do not like talking about drama on my channel. That's not what I'm about at all. But I think at this point, enough of you have asked, like, what happened with Too Faced? Why do you not want to support them? Is it because of Jeffrey? Is it because of Nikki Tutorials? It's neither. It actually boiled down to not even me not liking their makeup. Like, I actually like their brand. I think a lot of what they have is cute. But when I went to the Peach Party launch, this was about a year ago, I had a really poor experience one-on-one with Jerrod Blandino. It was very embarrassing, very humiliating. He treated me with disrespect. I just could not get that out of my head, that someone who runs Too Faced, this mega brand, would invite me to his party and I would show up and support and then be treated like that. It was just really gross. It left bad feelings in my stomach. I cried on the way home. Like, I was so just like, ugh. At that point, I was like, I can't deal with this. I don't support that. I have given the brand so much love. Like, I had loved on Too Faced so much on my channel. I'd done so many dedicated videos. And you know what? At some point, you have to just cut ties and be like, okay, there's lots of makeup out there for me to review. This did upset me. It made me feel bad. And because of that, I am choosing to not give my energy and my support to this company and to this person who made me feel horrible at an event that he invited me to. So that is it. That's the tea. And we're just gonna move on.
And of course, as you will see the pattern developing, Jerrod's sister Lisa got herself involved in this as well. It's important to note here that Lisa was friends, acquaintances, was a huge fan of one of the most, if not the most maybe not the most, but definitely maybe tied as the most problematic drama channel ever in the history of beauty YouTube, John Cookian. I know for a fact she was close with him because she actually came after me once because I was critical of some bad math that John had done, and I had straightened it out and been like, John doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And then she came after me in my comment section. I used to have screenshots of this, and I'm so mad I could not find them. It must have been on an old computer somewhere because this was a long time ago. But my point in saying that is that I know that Lisa and John had some kind of off-screen friendship going on. So John made this explosive anti-Tati, pro-Jerrod video saying that basically Jerrod didn't know who Tati was and that she shouldn't have expected any kind of special treatment, any kind of recognition, any kind of acknowledgement for being there, that she was just another influencer.
His understanding from this eyewitness was that Tati approached Jerrod at the party. Jerrod said hello, but he, quote, didn't know who she was that well, end quote. Also, according to his inside source, Tati apparently felt, quote, personally offended because she was invited by first name in the invitation, end quote. Now, in the beginning of his video, he said that there were 25 exclusive packages that were sent to influencers wherein Jerrod appeared on video and personally addressed each influencer by name, inviting them to this party. He further stated that this is where Tati may have interpreted this personalized video as being personally invited by Jerrod, because in her anti-haul video, she said she had a really poor experience one-on-one with Jerrod, who, quote, made her feel horrible at an event he invited her to, end quote. According to John, his supposed eyewitness and his inside source, Jerrod didn't know who Tati was when she approached him, and she was insulted by that.
Now, Tati came back and she rebutted that by posting up this tweet with a photo from 2015. Apparently, Jerrod had invited her to a party where there were just 10 influencers there to launch the upcoming holiday collection, and the party that she was invited to was at his house. So it was clear that he did know who she was. This led to Lisa clapping back again, get this, showing a picture of her daughter-in-law's cousin, who, according to Lisa, was Tati's best friend at the time. And she says that because Tati is smiling in the picture and that this was taken at the Sweet Peach party, that smile indicates that Tati couldn't have been that upset because she's smiling in the picture. Y'all know what game face is. That is not evidence that someone wasn't upset that they are able to smile for a photo. That's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Then she went off commenting about how Tati was not owed any special attention. Here's the tea in the timeline though. If you look at all of the beauty drama that I've covered here on this channel, where this fits in is right around the time when Tati Westbrook and Jeffree Star were friends, collaborating by getting ready together in private jets. Tati and Jeffree were friends at the time, so it's possible that Jeffree fed Tati all the information about Jerrod. So when Tati was thinking about the Sweet Peach party, she was like, oh, that all matches up, and that led to the public boycott, because we know for a fact, because it happened later with James Charles and all of that situation, that Tati was very influenced by the things that Jeffree was telling her. This is just another evidence of that, and I thought that link was super interesting. Because I personally think that sometime in their interactions when they were collabing together, Jeffree told Tati the Nicki story, and that was a big reason why she came out against Jerrod. But what I think is really smart of Tati during all of this is that she didn't say specifically anything about Nicki's business. Keeping herself out of that, I think, was very smart. Fast forward to 2018 when Tati uploads a video called Spilling Tea, Brands, Drama, and Trends That Need to Stop. Tati actually expressed regret for how she handled Too Faced in the past.
Popular makeup product or brand that you don't use or support anymore. You know, I don't really have many brands that I would kind of be like, no, I refuse. But you guys know Too Faced has been a brand that I don't support here on my channel, and it's kind of sad because I have really enjoyed their products in the past, and I think maybe I have held too much of a grudge, and I do wish, and I think about this a lot, I do wish in hindsight that I had never mentioned that on my channel. There's a part of me that always wants to be like super understood, and so I tried to be understood, and doing that, I think I definitely did cause some upset, and I wish I could undo that. Jerrod, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry that I said what I said. I really wish I knew what the hell happened or why the exchange that we had happened that way. And then the grudge kind of continued because his sister got a little crazy online, giving like information to drama channels and doing that whole thing, and it got really weird to the point that now I've let go of what was once a great friend of mine who's close with the family, and like I pushed all of that out of my life. So you're gonna make mistakes, and hopefully you can learn from them and do better the next time. And people are gonna do crappy things to you, and that's just a part of life. And not everything needs to be understood. I guess you just kind of keep trucking along and keep moving forward.
But it would be another 6 years before Tati went out and purchased Too Faced Cosmetics to review on her channel. It happened in April of 2024, where she finally uploaded a video with a full face of Too Faced product and officially ended her boycott of Too Faced, but apparently not her beef with Jerrod.
Oh, the controversy, the drama. Woo! If you've been with me for a minute and then some, then you know that way back when I had a little tiny bit of an issue with Too Faced Cosmetics. I want to announce publicly they do have different ownership. I don't want to get too much into the drama. You guys, I went on my channel back in the day before I fully even understood what internet drama was, and I shared a horrific experience I had at the infamous Too Faced Peach Party, and that I cried the whole way home. Like, at the time, my feelings were genuinely hurt. And then it turned into this bizarre thing online where the owner's sister was like involved on Twitter, and it was super weird. And I was not the only influencer that had weird things happen with Too Faced. I was definitely not alone. There were some strange vibes going on. And at the time, I decided the best thing I could do is say, you guys are asking like, why aren't you reviewing new Too Faced? And I'm like, because I don't vibe with the brand. And that's why. I don't know, things felt a little more casual back then, where you could just hop on and be like, hey, so many people are asking me about this, so I'm gonna address this really publicly, really quickly, and we'll just keep it moving. But then it turned into this weird thing where it became like a drama circuit and story. It was a whole life lesson, learning lesson, but it is what it is. They have new ownership, and I do love a lot of their products. They have a couple of new ones that I had my eye on, and I was like, this is just me being stubborn and kind of ridiculous at this point. So let's give it a go and play with a full face of Too Faced products and just see how it goes. Maybe I am still a little bit stubborn because I will not be reviewing Polite Society. Bless it. Good luck to you. I just, no thank you. My beef with Too Faced was just personal. And you can say like, oh, big baby, but like, it's my channel. I can say what I want to say and like what I like and support brands that I want to. And I don't have to support brands that I don't vibe with. And like, that's my prerogative.
Now we are going to allow Tati to exit this story, and we are bringing in an inanimate object, a cake. I feel like this behind the controversy isn't as linear as my typical ones. Usually I just go this way, but this one I'm going like this. And back and forth, because we've got to go back to 2017. I wanted to talk about some of the collaborations and things they did in 2017 because it was a really big year for launches back then. One of them I wanted to highlight was their collaboration with Candy Johnson. I actually still have mine. This is the I Want Candy palette. And what I want to share about this is the reaction to this was very similar to the one with Nikki Tutorials in that this got horrible reviews, very low quality, which was horrible for Candy Johnson because she was known as this super sweet, nice person. And she was, again, so happy for it. And the quality was absolutely terrible, which was really sad. Oh my gosh, it still smells. It still smells like candy. It smells so freaking good. Of course, we already talked about that they had their Sweet Peach collection launch in late summer of that year, but they also sneaked, which was odd because this never happened, a collaboration with Britney Spears. So I don't know what happened there, but this was the sneak. It never happened. But what did happen is they sneaked a collection with Erica Jane from Real Housewives. That did happen, just not yet. Possibly the funniest thing that happened on Jerrod Blandino's Instagram from back then was when he posted this picture of a high heel and people thought it was a butt plug. When I saw this, I died. I didn't remember this happening, but it's very, very funny to me now. I was also able to find a commercial that I did not know existed when I interviewed Gabriel Zamora. Like, I wish I had known this was a thing, but he did a commercial with Chloe Morello for Too Faced. There's a clip of the commercial because, of course, Too Faced deleted the full thing.
I had a really good time tonight.
Me too.
Who is this? You are so beautiful.
And you're so...
Can't believe you woke up like this.
What can I say? I guess I was born this way.
The reason why I want to go back to 2017 is because I believe that was the height of Too Faced. That was the end of the rise. So now it's time to start talking about the fall. And we got a hint too that the fall was coming when Too Faced came out with a product that I believe was an answer to Glam Glow's glitter mask that they came out with that went super viral. But what they did was they named it Glow Job. And that's... I don't have words. All I know is that I think Teresa's Dead would have a very specific name for this that I will not repeat.
They suffer from the worst kind of glitter bukkake situation.
My biggest issue with this at the time is I was super into deep diving into ingredients at the time, and there was like hardly any skincare in this. It was mostly plastic and alcohol. They had a little bit of glycerin, a little bit of apple extract, but that was it. It was useless. It was not a skincare product. It was just for fun, but they marketed it as a very expensive skincare product. But it was launches like these and ones that would continue to come from Too Faced that gave them this reputation of being extremely inconsistent. They would have something really good come out and then something terrible. And you never knew what you were going to get unless you were buying a holiday collection, because then you knew it was going to be bad. For a while, we felt like we could really count on like these tin palettes that these would be like good quality because they were for a while, and then they stopped being good quality, and it's like, what the heck is even happening over there? You just couldn't trust the products. And the thing is that there were so many brands that were coming out with consistently good products. Even though I got my beef with ABH back then, their quality of their products overall, minus the Subculture palette, were consistently really, really good. And then there were all these indie brands popping up. They were coming up with really consistently good products. ColourPop was getting really popular at the time. It was putting out really good products. I mean, there was just, do I want to risk on Too Faced or do I want to buy something that we know is going to be good? People stopped investing as much in Too Faced. And the other thing is that the color story started getting super repetitive. It was like all different shades of brown with a pop of purple, or all different shades of brown with a pop of blue, like every single palette. And it was like boring when especially Indie Beauty was coming out with a lot of multi-chromes and duochromes. Natasha Denona was starting to come out with some of that stuff as well. And it was like, why would I buy a boring Too Faced palette? Why would I buy a boring Tarte palette when I could get something that's actually unique and interesting and cool from a different brand? So I do think that was part of why sales slipped as well. But speaking of Tarte, it's not like other brands were not having issues as well, because in 2018, Tarte had a major controversy regarding the shade range of their very, very hyped Shape Tape foundation line, where they messed up, the big mess up. And I should do a long deep dive into Tarte as a whole. I did do a behind the controversy on this one situation that I'll link down below, but I should do one on the entire company anyway. So what happened was they sent out PR packages of this foundation to all bunch of people, all these big influencers. They sent this package to Jackie Aina and Alyssa Ashley, and their shade was not in there. And that led to a lot.
Fair sand, fair neutral, fair light neutral, light neutral, light sand, light medium neutral, light medium honey, medium sand, medium neutral, medium tan honey, deep honey, rich sand, mahogany.
And this was a very big moment for a lot of us in the beauty space, because a lot of us, people with lighter skin tones, hadn't really had much issue finding our skin tones. So no one had really explained us, because you don't know what you don't know until someone says, hey, you don't know this. And I think a lot of us were living in our little makeup bubbles, and I will admit that I was as well, of not understanding the struggles of people with deeper skin tones in the limited shade ranges available from a lot of different brands. And this really opened a lot of people's eyes to it, because there was an argument that I heard a lot of white people specifically saying, in that, well, there are more white people, therefore there need to be more white shades. And this presented an alternative in that there should be a gradient, and that in that gradient, if you expect lower sales of certain colors for whatever reason, you just make less of them. But that doesn't mean you don't make them at all, because what happens and what we've learned through this is that when brands expand their lines to be a gradient, and when you make people feel included, that increases brand loyalty, and it helps people to want to go back to purchase from that brand again when they feel like they're welcome. And then people that have always been included also look at that and say, hey, this company is aware, therefore I'm also going to spend more money. And brands, if you look at Sephora and you go to their website, you go to Ulta's website and you search the most popular complexion products, the ones with the best shade ranges are the best sellers. Now, I'm not saying no brand had ever done this before. Of course, we know MAC, we know Makeup Forever. There are some brands that have always done this, but I feel like Jackie and Alyssa's video really opened the eyes of a lot of people who had never been affected before by this issue. And in that awareness, other brands started to catch on that they also needed to expand their shade range, and Too Faced was one of them with their Born This Way foundation. So what did they do? They hired Jackie Aina to help them to expand their Born This Way foundation line, and then Jackie became a spokesperson for the brand.
It's finally here. Oh my god. Oh my god. What am I gonna do with my life? What am I gonna do with my edges? What am I gonna do? What's my auntie gonna do? What's my cousin gonna do? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Jackie O, aka Jackie Aina. I had the opportunity to collaborate with Too Faced in expanding their Born This Way line of foundations. So the Born This Way line of foundations from Too Faced now comes in 35 shades. 9 of those shades were curated by me, right here, me. It was me.
The caption on this post on the Too Faced Instagram read, I've teamed up with one of my favorite people in the world, beauty and style influencer and makeup artist, and one of my best friends, Jackie Aina, for new shades of my best-selling Born This Way foundation. Together, Jackie and I created the perfect shade range for all skin tones, using Jackie's expertise on the deeper range to help everyone look and feel their most naturally beautiful best. All 35 shades of my Born This Way foundation give you a naturally flawless finish, so undetectable you won't have to tell anyone you weren't born this flawless. Now, I want to make special note here of Jerrod's use of pronouns. Very, very important, because this is going to come back later. Jerrod often presented the products as my and mine. And when he was with Jackie, it was like Jackie and I. He never gave credit to his team. It was always me, mine, I did this. And though this may have given him clout on social media for being the inventor of all of these things, it was about to backfire hard on Too Faced as a brand. And it backfired, all due to a cake. In an Instagram story, Jerrod posted this. It's a photo of Jerrod, Jeremy, and their dog Clover with the caption, "Happy almost birthday to my boo." The cake in front of them says Rich Lives Matter, an obvious play on the Black Lives Matter movement. And when I say there was backlash to this photo, there was backlash, and not just for Jerrod, but Too Faced as a brand. So many people, influencers, customers, everywhere, all over social media, everyone calling for a boycott at the outright disgusting disrespect of the Black Lives Matter movement. The backlash was immediate and it was strong, and because of that, Jerrod did issue an apology. This is what it said. "I posted a pic of Jeremy and me at a surprise party a group of our friends had thrown for Jeremy's upcoming birthday. There was a cake at the bottom of the photo that someone had brought to the party that had something insensitive and unacceptable written on it. I'm so sorry, and I take complete responsibility for posting it. It's my responsibility to make sure everything I post reflects me, my life, my values, and my heart. Jeremy and I have built our company and our lives on the premise of lifting everyone up, loving and supporting each other to live their best lives and meet their greatest potential. I'm grateful for this opportunity to highlight the importance of standing together as human beings, supporting, loving, and defending each other's rights for equality, opportunity, and justice in a world so in need of these basic and most important values." The story goes that as part of the party, everyone was supposed to bring a small cake, and this was one of the cakes that someone brought. Unfortunately for both Too Faced and Jerrod, this picture will become synonymous with both of them for many, many years to come. I will tell you, a couple of days ago, I was talking about something on Threads and someone brought up the Rich Lives Matter cake. They will never shake this. The writers at Cafe Mom, I feel like, phrased this pretty well. They said, when it comes to inclusion, you don't have to have your cake and eat it too. Now, a big reason why people took this extra hard was because it was just 6 months prior that they worked with Jackie to expand the shade range of the Born This Way Foundation, and they were seen as, compared to Tarte, who I guess was a mortal enemy at this point, that they were doing it right and Tarte was doing it wrong, and they'd built themselves up as being this inclusive brand, and then this happens. People didn't just go after Jerrod and Too Faced, they went after Jackie too, saying that because she was such a vocal advocate for shade ranges and Black women, that she should have said something straight out to condemn what happened, and she stayed silent on the issue. As is the internet, people eventually did move on, except for I don't think that they completely ever let Jerrod forget about this. This became part of who people knew Jerrod to be. He was the Rich Lives Matter guy, and I think he still is to this day to a lot of people. All right, we're going forward a little more. We're in 2018, and Too Faced was going through a bit of an identity crisis in that they didn't know who their target market was. There were launches that legit look like children's makeup, very much marketed at kids. It's fruit and it's dogs, and then they had sex-themed stuff that was really sexual. The peak of the kids' makeup, in my opinion, was in 2018 when they came out with this adorable collection that was a tribute to Clover, Jerrod's dog. Absolutely adorable. But 5 months later, they came out with the most sexual collection. Maybe not the most, but one of the most, no, definitely not the most, because I was just thinking about the sexy red lip glosses. That's another story. But anyway, one of the most sexually charged makeup collections of all time. And that was the collaboration with Erica Jane from Real Housewives. This collection. Oh my gosh. It was called the Pretty Mess Collection. I have one piece of it that I could find. This is the How Many Do I Give highlighter But beyond the highlighter, there was the Painkiller Pink Lip Injection, the DSL Lip Kit. And if you don't know what DSL stands for, Google if you dare. They also came out with the contrast to that, which was called the Polite Lips Kit. There was also a Pretty Mess eyeshadow palette, which was a hot mess on the inside. Everybody hated the design on the inside because it was a mess. I get where they were going with it, but it was just ugly as sin. But the product that people talked about the most, where people were like, what even is happening right now, was a powder called Pat the Puss.
Pat the puss, pat the puss, pat the puss, drop it down, bounce.
Erica Jane is a total rebel.
I don't know. It was what it was. It was a body powder. Pat the Puss. And this flip-flop back and forth between kids and sex was it kept happening, and it was weird, and it really bothered a lot of people, and I think it turned off a lot of people from the brand. For example, they had the Puppy Sun Bronzer and the Glover Puppy Highlighter, and that launched near the Damn Girl Mascara and the Shake Your Pom Pom palette. And then there was the Cute Gingerbread collection, and then back to sexy with the I Get Around set. It's like people couldn't even figure it out. It's like you didn't know if you were gonna get some kind of fruit-themed cartoon or boobs. Like, what are we getting this time? Is it cuter boobs? I don't know. Now, here's a collection that you may have never seen or completely forgot about. Did you know that Too Faced collaborated with Madonna? I had completely forgotten. But if you are a Madonna fan, this is actually still available on Madonna's website. You can go buy it now. So in this time period, Too Faced is in a slow decline in popularity. People are confused, but they're still being purchased. Like, people are still buying the products. I mean, it's just, they're in a really weird spot. So it was a very inconvenient time for Too Faced to have another scandal. And unfortunately, the scandal surrounded Nikki Tutorial. She is brought back into the story. It's very unfortunate that I have to share that with you and that happened to Nikki, because this one, honestly, like in my heart, I feel like this one's even worse than the last one. It has to do with in 2020 when Nikki came out as a trans woman.
I want to start the year off by finally revealing a part of my life that has made me who I am. I want to talk about a part of myself that makes me, me. I can't believe I'm saying this today to all of you, for the entire world to see. But damn, it feels good to finally do it. It is time to let go and be truly free. When I was younger, I was born in the wrong body, which means that I am transgender. Now, so surreal saying this. Filming this video is scary, but it feels so liberating and freeing. I've been wanting to share this side of myself to all of you for so long, but I could never figure out the timing. And there always was gonna be the day where I would tell you. I did not expect that day to be today, but here we are. I am Nikki Tutorials, and I am Nikki. I am me. We don't need labels. If we are gonna put a label on it, yes, I am transgender. But at the end of the day, I am me.
The makeup community as a whole rallied around Nikki so hard. Everybody coming and supporting her and telling her that she's Nikki and that we love her and we've always loved her and that she's, we love her just as she is. But in all of that support, of course, there has to be outliers. And it's not Jeffree Star this time. Jeffree Star actually tweeted in support saying, "You are such an inspiration and so brave, love you, and I'm so proud to call you a friend," with 100 emojis. So I guess that they had made up and been friends at that point. Where it came from was Jerrod's sister, Lisa. Lisa. Just blech. Lisa became absolutely hateful at this point, very, very publicly. And remember, Lisa has been with Too Faced since the very beginning. She may have even been their very first employee. But when Nikki came out as trans, I guess Lisa was still upset over her exposing what had happened with her palette and talking negatively about Too Faced, because she came at Nikki with fire. She was so upset. She didn't just put up a post. Oh no, she changed her entire Instagram bio to say, "Transgender, huh? That's not the only thing she's been lying about. Now, I know it says Danny California there, but that's Lisa. This is her account. It's been verified by Jerrod that this is her account. It's been her account the whole time. It's Lisa. So naturally, many fans of Too Faced were absolutely appalled by this. People were bringing up controversies of Jerrod's from the past and demanding that he come out strong against his sister. And he did. In an Instagram story, Jerrod said, quote, "I would like to make sure that it is understood, although I love my sister very much. The things she says or does have absolutely nothing to do with me and do not in any way reflect me, my opinions, thoughts, or feelings, nor speak for me or Too Faced in any way, shape, or form. I have always stood for love, equality, and kindness in my life and everything I do. I'm sorry for the hurt she has caused. Let it be known that I am truly shocked and disgusted to my core at her recent actions. I do not tolerate this behavior, and she is no longer an employee at Too Faced. I would like to say how proud I am of Nikki Tutorials and how inspired I am for her strength and sharing her beautiful truth with the world. I am sending all of my love to her." Lisa, in response to this, did change her Instagram bio. She changed it to, "Let's be clear, I love trans people and dislike anyone who lies to hurt others, period." But I don't think anybody was buying it. I know I didn't buy it. Just absolutely gross. So to my knowledge, this was the last controversy that Lisa got herself in related to Too Faced. It seemed like this was the last straw for Jerrod, and it was the last time, to my knowledge again, that we heard from Lisa. Believe it or not, the next 2 years were pretty quiet when it came to controversy for Too Faced, which was good for them. I think the biggest issue was that they launched so many products in such a short period of time that the collectors had trouble keeping up. And again, they still had that issue with inconsistent quality. So like, for example, January 2020, they had the new Hangover skincare line. They had new items added to the Born This Way line and the Primed and Poreless line. Jerrod's dog Clover got more products for whatever reason. I guess they were selling well. I forgot they came out with a pot concealer. I was looking, I was like, oh, I didn't remember that. They also launched their killer liner, their lip injection lip glosses with the color in them. They came out with a face plumper that I completely forgot about. I do remember though the melted chocolate liquid eyeshadows because those look cute. I never ended up buying them though. And of course they came out with more peach stuff with the sugar peach line. Holiday time brought the pumpkin spice eyeshadow palette. That actually was a really, really good eyeshadow palette. It was like back to the roots of like good Too Faced eyeshadow. They also came out with a collaboration with Marielle that was really cute. I didn't try that one though, so I can't speak to it, but from what I've seen of Marielle, she seems like a sweet person and I really like the palette that she designed with them. So in all of these launches, Jerrod continues to use, even though it's burned him in the past, he continues to use my mind with everything, taking credit for every single launch. It's just weird to me. It's just weird because you know there's a huge team of people that are behind creating these products, but it's all me, mine. I don't know. I thought that was odd. Especially considering, remember, Estee Lauder owned the whole thing. They've owned Too Faced since 2016. So why is it all about me, my mind? I don't know. But I honestly wonder how the Too Faced team felt about Jerrod taking credit for all of their work all of this time. I don't know. We may never know. So now let's talk November of 2020. And Jerrod and Jeremy announced a special project that they were working on.
And we're getting away for a couple days because I want to announce something. As soon as we get back, Jeremy and I are beginning to film our Too Faced documentary. What? It's something we've been working on for so long, guys. And we've been around literally for 23 years. So we're going to be doing a documentary that shows our entire story, how we built Too Faced, how we met, everything about us. So
yeah, so tune in.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen soon. So we're starting to film it in just a couple days, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. So this is just for you guys, my Too Faced family. Keep it a secret. We're not supposed to tell anybody.
Not anybody. See you inside, honey. Bye.
To my knowledge, this documentary does not exist. I have never seen that exist. I couldn't find that it exists, but if it does, let me know because I want to watch it. But I couldn't find it. So things kind of just kept going on like that, and Too Faced was slowly getting lost in the mix. They were slowly just starting to blend in with everything, and that inconsistent quality kept biting them in their peach-shaped over and over and over again. But as they say, all things must come to an end. And in 2022, the summer of 2022, June of 2022, I believe, Jerrod and Jeremy officially left their role at Too Faced completely.
To all of my beloved Too Faced family out there, this year marks 24 years since Jeremy and I created Too Faced with the hopes of creating an innovative, disruptive, cruelty-free cosmetics company that would allow you to reinvent yourself every day and to feel the best version of yourself in our brand. As many of you know, Jeremy and I sold Too Faced to the Estee Lauder companies over 5 years ago. And although we've done some amazing things together and achieved some phenomenal successes, Jeremy and I just don't feel like we can be the best versions of ourselves in this integrated corporate environment. We just weren't raised in it. We didn't come up in it. Our last jobs were at the mall. And so it just isn't a right fit for us any longer. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that you've given me and that the ride that Estee Lauder took me on. I've learned a lot.
Our last day at Too Faced.
And if I left you with anything, it's like fight. To keep the heartbeat alive, fight for your art, fight for what you offer. Never get dumbed down, never dim your light. And just do your absolute best because what you do matters.
I had to say goodbye to my office. And we got to party it up with all our Too Faced fam at an amazing soiree Too Faced threw for us.
Of our story, and without you, we wouldn't have been able to do what we've done. And as we end this amazing book, it's not a chapter, it's a book.
Yes, a book.
I'm just so grateful that I got to do this with you.
I love you, boo.
6 months after officially leaving Too Faced, Jerrod and Jeremy announced that they had started a brand new parent company called Toy Box Brands. And under Toy Box Brands, they were launching 2 brand new companies that were self-funded. One of them is called Diamond Drunk, and it is a jewelry cleaner company. The second one is called Polite Society. This was their new makeup company. And as can occasionally happen when you completely cut ties with a job, you're not really under the same obligations as you were to keep secrets. And Jerrod started going on different podcasts and things and spilling little bits of tea. Now, because these podcast interviews are so long and it's a lot to sift through, I will be 100% with you. I did not take the time to listen to all of them. However, there was one that really stood out as having some very interesting information, and that's the one that he did with Rosanna Pansino on her Ridiculous podcast. In my time, this was not that long ago, in 2024, and man, does he say some things that just changed so many things in my mind. Wait until you hear this. Okay, so Jerrod is talking about Polite Society and he's getting real comfortable and he's starting to relax. And then he starts spilling the tea about Estee Lauder.
You were telling me the new company, Polite Society, is self-funded. So what are the pros to that?
But being self-funded gives you complete control over everything you do. And I wouldn't do it any other way. And, you know, when we had sold Too Faced to Estee Lauder, I was so excited, Ro. You knew back then. I thought
it's a first circle moment.
It was a full circle moment. I thought it was going to be I thought we were going to get wings, you know, not weights. And it ended up ultimately becoming one of the most difficult things I ever went through. It was soul sucking at times and incredibly negative at times. And I just, it stripped me of all kind of the joy and the kind of the process, the magic that we had built from the beginning. Just because in a corporate environment, it really doesn't generally benefit artists or that rebellious nature that built something. And
the creative nature, it usually hinders it.
Yes. Even when Estee Lauder bought it, I really envisioned myself as being there forever.
Yeah.
But through the process of it and having, you know, some very difficult experiences and feeling controlled and stifled and silenced, it lit a fire under my ass.
Yes.
So I was like, wait, that's not how we built this. That's not how we do this, you know?
Yeah.
And so it lit a fire under my ass. So it made me dream again of creating something in the rebellious, wonderful, magical dream state world.
Well, wait, but you're so creative. Like, what's
going to happen now?
What's going to happen now? Like, because all of that energy, all of it has to go somewhere.
You know,
you're someone where it just needs to come out.
I didn't sell Too Faced.
how do I?
Oh yeah, sorry, did I say this wrong?
No, it's true. No, it happened. I will just say though, within the way it happened,
Yeah.
Jeremy and I didn't do it, but we got a call and they said we're selling to Estee Lauder just on a Sunday.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they had made a deal, and that deal was contingent on us going with the deal. And because at the time I wanted to do what was best, that I thought was best for the brand and for my employees and all the people, the hundreds and hundreds of people who worked for me that deserved this windfall, we went along with it. And I was expecting something other than it was. And there were a lot of great things to take from it. The Lauder family is absolutely incredible. Leonard Lauder is one of the most amazing, wonderful, smart people I've ever met in my life, and I cherish him.
Yeah.
But the executives within the organization, a lot of them were not that.
Yeah.
I just was naive. And you talk about our rebellious nature.
Yeah.
I wasn't behaving. So when within my ecosystem and within what I built, I always wanted to create the most efficacious, amazing products that I could ever dream up.
Yeah.
And through the process of corporations, sometimes that was edited, diluted, or wanting me to be silenced or to stay in my corner and just behave and let them do it. And I was like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How are you supposed to innovate?
That's not how this
you can't
works.
go out of a box.
Well, and so I wasn't behaving. And I was rebelling, and I was trying to keep the heartbeat alive in the way that I thought it needed to be kept alive. And I was doing things in the way I thought they needed to be done. It just didn't work out. And it got very, very difficult for Jeremy and I, because those corporate suits cannot do what we do as artists.
No.
Now, I'm not saying they don't have their place and they don't deserve to be respected. In their own way, they climbed that ladder and they got there. But sometimes there is this
stifling.
It's
The
almost there's a
creativity.
competition.
Yeah.
Or there's a threat that they feel when within the artist kind of level of that corporation. And sometimes they just get a kick out of telling you no, or sometimes they just don't get it. So I had creative control while I was there. And so I just started saying, well, canceling projects. If I can't make it the best I can make it, if I can't do it in the way I want to do it, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And it got into this just very weird place of I'm trying to keep my integrity for me and my customers and my fans. But it just wasn't working within the corporate culture.
It gets really complicated.
If I could say something to the corporate world, I would say, if you buy another company that you think is so amazing and has a heartbeat and has soul and has a reason, protect it. Don't let your robots of corporate culture go in and homogenize it into one thing. Protect that thing.
I was actually shocked by this because I knew that at the time Jerrod and Jeremy still owned part of the company, that General Atlantic was just a majority shareholder. I had no idea that they were not involved in making that decision, that they were just kind of like pushed into it by General Atlantic to sell their shares. And I can see why they did, just because they knew there was still a lot of money to be made. And this was Jerrod's baby. Like this, he grew this baby from a small, teeny tiny infant to this huge brand selling for over $1 billion. I can see why he didn't want to leave. But the fact that he didn't have much choice in it, that was shocking to me. So that got me really thinking. And I was like, okay, so if Jerrod behind the scenes was having issues with how Estee Lauder was running things, but we were all seeing him go, me, my, mine, I did it. But behind the scenes, he was really upset. How much was Jerrod actually involved in the products that were being produced by Too Faced? And then I was thinking, okay, timeline wise, the collaboration with Nikkie Tutorials was after they sold to Estee Lauder. So was Jerrod falsely accused of ripping off Nikkie? Was that a deal specifically with Estee Lauder and Jerrod wasn't involved at all? And then Jerrod is sitting back and can't say anything, that he didn't do it and that it wasn't his fault, and that he can't publicly apologize to Nikkie because then he's working for Estee Lauder and he can't say anything. Is that the way it went down? I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it went down, but all I know is now it's a possibility that he wasn't involved in any of that. and the inconsistent quality in the eyeshadow palettes. That was when that started happening, was when they sold to Estee Lauder. I wonder how Jerrod felt about that. These Christmas collections, they were consistently bad. The inconsistencies in the peach collection, like, it just totally blew my mind, and it completely changed my perspective on Jerrod's involvement in the launches, because he presented himself as the exact opposite, which, to be fair, is his fault. What's also his fault is the dang cake and the, weight loss lip gloss and all of the other things that he was directly involved in. But I'm wondering if specifically the Nicki thing was his fault or not. But we're not done. He's not done spilling tea. There's more in this interview. There's more, because he starts talking about who I believe is Jeffree Star.
Foodies are kind of boring. I'm going to be honest, the foodies are boring. There's not a lot of drama in the food community because, bakers are literally the sweetest people. I say they're so sweet, they'll give you a toothache. They are so cute and sweet, and they're the people that love to eat, they love to drink, they love to hang out.
You're so lucky.
There's just not a lot of drama.
Within the beauty space, about 5-6 years ago, we were like the world wrestling of entertainment.
You guys were everywhere. Every headline was like,
it was such bullshit.
This beauty
influencer. I
was like,
I'm nice.
Put these guys in a ring. What's going on?
I don't know why, but I got wrapped up in some crazy ass shit with someone I've never met in my life.
You've never met?
I've never met the guy who came after me.
How does
in my
drama
life
start with somebody you've never met?
Because I was very good
so
friends
weird.
with a beauty founder who was friends with this person, and I think they got in a thing, and then I got. I really don't know, and in fact, I only send love and positivity to this person. But I got wrapped up in something. I've never met him, never seen him, never been in the same zip code with him that I know of.
Yeah,
and got wrapped up in this crazy shit. But it was the time. I think it was people wanted to see insane craziness and negativity. I don't think that's what's happening anymore. And you see within the TikTok world, it's a lot more positive, educational, uplifting, fun,
I feel
unpolished, more real.
It sounds like the founder that he was talking about here is Kat Von D. So in that, it sounds like the reason why Jeffree went so hard against Too Faced was because he was pissed at Kat and was trying to hurt her through Jerrod and was mad at Jerrod for siding with Kat, and it was all vindictive. Are we surprised? Are we surprised that it probably didn't really have much to do with Nicki being screwed over? He just wanted to get back at Jerrod for being friends with Kat and all of that. That's my opinion at this point, is it had nothing to do with Nicki and standing up for Nicki, maybe a little bit, but it seems like it was more revenge than anything. And if we take that a step further, if he did shit talk Jerrod and Too Faced to Tati, all of that drama was all about being vindictive as well, about revenge as well, getting Tati on board to denounce Too Faced. All of it was most likely just Jeffree once again orchestrating things behind the scenes to take down somebody he didn't like. Are we surprised? I'm not surprised, but I just hadn't put those connections together, and now I'm all, if you did it before me, congratulations, you win. I'm just sharing that's where I'm at this point. And another reason why I'm sharing this is because I think it's important that we, and when I say we, I mean me, when we see drama going down, to recognize that what's public is public. What's fact is fact. We know all of those things, but there may be other things happening behind the scenes that we don't know that may add on more to the story and change things. Some things we might never know. But to just keep that in our mind, that there may be parts of the story that would flesh it out more and give us more understanding. But in the end, I believe that Jerrod Blandino and what he has done to his reputation by being involved in all these scandals and putting himself as the face of Too Faced and now the face of polite society is hurting him. It's hurting him. And I don't know why he chose to do that again with polite society. I wish that he had just launched it incognito and not said that it was his brand. Like, you could find it, but he's doing the same thing where he's putting himself at the forefront of polite society as the face of the brand. Big, huge. They were just at the Texas Ulta Beauty World this past weekend, and there's this big, huge Jerrod face on there. I don't think that's going to help them. I genuinely don't, because people will never forget this photo. They will never forget it. So at this point, I think that we need to talk about how Too Faced and polite society can move forward. And I think that the best way to do that is to let go of Gen X and millennials. let us go. A lot of us aren't coming back. Where they need to focus their energy is figuring out who their customer is. And I don't think Polite Society has 100% figured this out either. I think they're falsely going after millennials when they really should be going after Gen Zs and Gen Alphas. I think they need to let their older customers go and market heavy to these younger people. I think they need to market heavy on TikTok because that is where the money is. We've seen it coming in. We've seen how much brands can grow on TikTok. I don't think that Too Faced or Polite Society have a big enough presence on TikTok, and I don't think they're tapping into these younger influencers like they should. And I think if they did, they would have a lot more success. And as far as Polite Society goes, Jerrod's got to get his face off this stuff because his face, I'm just going to be honest, as an older person, I'm going to be 47 in a couple months. As somebody, I would never want to put my face on a brand that is marketed to younger people. They would never buy it. Young people are not going to buy a brand with a man that is older as the face. They've got to switch that to being marketed to a younger audience. I think the longer Jerrod holds on to needing to be the center of attention for his brand, the longer it will struggle. And I think that they could have some success if he's able to let his ego and pride go. Back to Too Faced. Okay, so Too Faced, I've been on their PR for a while, so I've gotten a lot of their most recent launches, and I'll be 100% with you. A lot of them are actually really and truly very good. Like, for example, this was the first product that really stood out to me that I felt like they really had something here. This is their stick bronzer that smells like chocolate. I'm actually wearing it today. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. They also have their blushes, have always been good. They're still good. As long as fluffy brows are a trend, this Fluff and Hold Brow Wax is freaking amazing. It blows away anything else I have ever tried on the market, and it's got this cool little tool here to really get your brows in place. It's absolutely freaking genius. Their new tubing mascara, when I tell you that this is so good, it is so good. The formula inside is amazing. Why this packaging? What the heck is this? This is in essence like $5 mascara. Why does this mascara look like that? This looks better, in my opinion, than this. What is up with this packaging? They're not going to sell this. They're not going to sell it in this packaging. Why does this look so much more elevated than this? Their powder bronzers are also really good. Their eyeshadows are still very hit and miss. You still don't know what you're getting with their eyeshadow palettes. Some of them are really good and some of them are not. So they need to get that under control, and they need to make sure they're coming out with consistent quality products that are marketed to a very specific audience. And I think they're going to do really well because there's so much potential behind Too Faced, and it really bothers me. It bothers me that they're letting all this potential go. But they are fighting against so much, including their sketchy past. They have a lot of work to do, but honestly, at this point, I'm rooting for a Too Faced comeback. I really hope that it happens. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive on Too Faced. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, I am going to link next to me a video that I find similar but also more dramatic, and if that's even possible, it is the deep dive behind the controversy that I did on Lime Crime. If you like this one, you are going to love that one. Of course, I'll also put my Behind the Controversy playlist for you in case you'd like to browse through and pick another video to watch. Thank you so much for watching. Mad love to you. I'll see you soon.